We're all juiced out. We used all our...
Sears got that guy juiced, and we are not juiced.
No. Me feeding Athena a spoonful of food. Almost said my last name. Rachel's got that cat juiced. I almost said my last name. I guess I could have. We could have like
start.
censored it.
Rachel.
Star Wars, Transformers, Godzilla, animation, whatever else. Rebels, robots, and etc.
Well, it's Wednesday night. We're being goofy, and we're in Rachel's apartment, which must mean that it's Starformers Zillimation night.
Oh.
Welcome. Rachel just clicked off the AC. Has it been on this whole time?
It has, but I've been I forgot to turn it back down from when I got home from work, so it's set at like 75.
This is the first time it's been hot for a while in here.
Well,
I was starting to sweat.
It hadn't gone on at all because I was keeping an eye on it, because once it would like get above what it's set to, it would have been like boom.
Fast zoom noise.
The vent. No, so yeah, I just turned it off because I could tell we were getting a little up there.
Well, it's Starformers Zillimation night. Welcome to Rebels and Robots and Rar, episode 49. I'm Cameron.
I'm Rachel.
And this is our weekly chat about Star Wars and
Transformers sometimes.
It goes in cycles. We always come back around. It will definitely come back around. What else do we talk about?
Godzilla and animation.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
And next week, Kung Fu Panda, or whenever
Oh,
you hear us
yeah.
record again at some point.
And whatever else we want to talk about.
Athena.
Yeah. More and more frequently.
She's eating all of it.
Hungry gal.
Athena's been begging for food this a whole night, and she's like, she's going to throw up again.
Well, we are currently going through the Legendary Pictures Kaiju verse of films leading up to Godzilla X Kong. I always do that.
New
I don't.
Empire.
It's Kong X Godzilla, and the place where they go to the center of the earth, and there's an evil Godzilla and also an evil Kong. Is that the subtitle? I'm pretty sure that's the subtitle. Godzilla X Kong.
It is if they...
Little Kongers. Godzilla.
Anyways, we're gonna move on.
So since
that is the subtitle, they actually like got inspiration from your meme minute spiel.
So we are calling this March Madness, after Monarch being the connection through all of these films. We are also currently covering the weekly releases of the new episode of Star Wars Bad Batch Season 3, which I have started to deem Bad Barch Badness.
Gosh, I hate that.
I'm very proud of that.
Not Bad Batch Madness?
No, because Bad Barch Badness is way funnier.
Batch Badness?
Because it's a bad show.
Oh.
It's an okay show, but Bad Batch okayness doesn't make
It's
any
no
sense.
Andor.
Very true.
Hey, sometimes when I'm sad, I just listen to Marva Andor's monologue and it hypes me up. It really does.
Fight the Empire,
Fight
Rachel.
the Empire.
Fight
It's so good.
the Empire.
Look, if I'd been in my theater class, like when that came out, when we had our monologue final projects, that would have been it. Would have been it.
So we will be talking about the third film in the Kaiju verse, Godzilla King of Monsters. Technically, okay, so I would argue whatever title is in the movie itself is the title of the movie. I don't care what it says on the posters or the DVD or whatever. The thing that will always exist is the movie itself until they change that. And in the movie, it says Godzilla 2 King of Monsters, which I did not realize.
Yeah, that was weird because we saw that at the end. It was like 2.
So that, I think, is the official title. It doesn't really matter that much, but... So we will be talking about that as well as Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 4 and 5 here in a few moments. And we will be joined by guest on the host. Gosh, dang it. I keep...
We're getting a new host. This is news to me.
Guest on the pod, Bailey, good friend of mine.
We should just do an episode where it's Bailey and Athena.
Oops, no hosts.
Cameron throwing things all over my apartment as per usual.
So he will be our first remote guest, and he will be on to talk about the topics. But as I said before we started recording, I didn't want to include him in our usual bull crap. So he will not be here for news or memes. Speaking of which, let's get to news, recent thoughts, anything around that. Rachel, what do you got?
All right. So this was something Star Wars posted. They confirmed because we were talking about like how long had Omega been on Tantus. So
Okay.
like that planet where she was imprisoned. And so Star Wars confirmed that when we first see Omega, like when the episode starts, she's been there 3 weeks. She's been there 21 days.
Okay.
The last day that they're on Tantus, 125 days have passed. So that's, I think, what?
4 months?
Yeah, 4-5 months. So she's been there a hot second. That's a long time. I do have some news. I don't know how much news you have.
I've got at least one thing.
Okay, say your one thing. Or you want me to go?
So my one thing is, so as with the Transformers things, I loved bringing in posters every week. I did bring in a Godzilla X Kong poster as well. Well, this is not a poster as much as it is an advertisement for Carl's Jr., but it really cracks me up. So Carl's Jr., the burger
Is
joint.
it Hardee's, essentially?
Yeah, it's in some places of the country, it's Hardee's. Godzilla, they've got the Godzilla burger. So on this poster, you have Godzilla and Kong both running at the camera, and Godzilla is behind his burger, and Kong is behind his burger. There's a Kong burger. The issue here, and there's also Scar fries. Scar is the villain. They're like red, I'm assuming like spicy fries.
Like Cheeto dust.
The issue here is that Kong's burger has a black bun, and that's not good. Bun shouldn't be black.
It's a pretty patty.
Yeah. These are also triple burgers. They are very big.
You got to
boys.
get
They're
those
beefy.
gains. Like
Also,
Godzilla.
this is, I don't know if this is only in Spanish language countries, but this whole ad is in actually Spanish. Kong x Godzilla El Nuevo Imperio.
Because when was the last time you saw Carl's Jr. or Hardee's in United States? We can dox
Oklahoma.
ourselves that way. And so, hey, at least it's not like sexy Godzilla.
That's
Carl's
true.
Jr. ad.
Carl's Jr. is infamous for their sexy ads. They didn't
Could've
go
been
that.
old.
The
They
direction with
really
this.
could have gone Godzilla X Kong.
So that was an unsurprising bit. I mean, a very surprising bit of advertising I didn't expect to see this
I think
week.
we're gonna like see that, and there's gonna be like a random plug for like Carl's Jr. in the film. I think they have Carl's Jr.'s in the Hollow Earth.
That would be great. I would one of the most infamous, I think, bits of product placement in a movie is when in the 2013 Man of Steel, Superman gets punched into an IHOP. That would be hilarious if there was like a freaking Carl's Jr. in the Hollow Earth.
No, Madam
punched him.
Web Pepsi ad.
Oh, that, yeah,
Or any product placement from Transformers ever. Hey, we saw a Bumblebee car today.
We did. Every time I see that, I have to yell Bumblebee. I hope they hear me one of these days.
You're gonna be like, gosh, this freak. Kidding.
No, it's good. I have one. You can do a bit of news you want. I have a video actually. That's also advertising for this movie.
So one thing we've talked about is how it's streaming services are kind of nice because of the instantaneousness of them, but it's also creates a problem of when it's gone, it's gone.
Sure.
On March 12th, the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor series will be coming to 4K Ultra 4 HD and Blu-ray physical media. They are going to have they're going to have steelbooks with gorgeous art. I didn't take a picture of all the art, but gorgeous covers.
Sure.
Andor fans stay winning, and Kenobi fans. I'll probably pick up both just to like have them because I don't want them to get pulled off of streaming services. And also, like I said, Andor means a lot to me.
When the way you started that whole bit of news, I definitely thought that you were going to say they're just pulling Kenobi off Disney Plus. It's like, what?
They will. They're going to be like, hey, you can get physical media now. You can never watch it again. No. The other thing, I'll do a couple and tell me whenever you're done because I've got a few. So the Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resort and Disneyland Paris have these things called Star Tours. I think they're kind of like a virtual VR style ride to go through various places in Star Wars. I've never been, so I don't know. But starting April 5th, they're adding some new locations and characters from Ahsoka, Andor, and The Mandalorian. Disney says guests will now have the opportunity to experience one of more than 250 storyline variations aboard the attraction, including a visit to the planet Peridia from the Ahsoka series. So that's kind of fun. Get to see some love for Ahsoka and Andor kind of like in the mainline theme parks.
Now, real quick, Peridia, that's the planet in
That's
the
the
other
planet.
galaxy.
Yes.
Is that not right? That's interesting.
Of course, the Empire. We can make a lot of money off of this. But my favorite comment that I saw was, if you get the Andor section, it's just 20 minutes of Stellan Skarsgård telling you how much blood you have on your hands. So I thought that was funny. Stellan, we love Luthen. We love him.
Here's so previously on the pod, I brought a commercial for the Godzilla X Kong toys. Well, here's another one.
Oh my gosh.
It's 20 seconds, so it's not very long.
In a world of titans, a towering force emerges, introducing the ultimate Godzilla with realistic stomping and wicked tail whip action. Unleash your inner monster.
So he's like a remote control Godzilla.
I can't believe we got a fast zoom like 5 seconds into the...
Godzilla Kong walking RC.
So here's some of the hilarious. So similar to the previous one, this commercial is just footage of the toy. There's no animation. This one doesn't even cut any footage of the movie.
You can't say false advertising.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Is toys don't look cool on video. It like you can like rotate his tail and it like knocks over a toy building, but it's so slow. It's like it's not exciting. Like this honestly is kind of a cool toy, but you can't market it like this. And it's moving so slowly, and it's technically has atomic breath, but it's just a little bit of smoke coming out of its mouth.
It's kind of like how I have that Godzilla figure and he looks so good because he barely moves.
Yeah,
He's a figure.
These commercials I love. I love the idea of this toy commercials that are just so straightforward. But also of the 90s like style voiceover, just like trying to hype it up. Anyways, I've really enjoyed those, so that's my news for the week.
So we just talked about this last episode when we were talking about Star Wars video games, and in Star Wars video games fashion, one of them's already been canceled.
You win some, you lose a bunch.
We talked about a rumored Mandalorian bounty hunter first-person. It was a first-person shooter, but it was rumored to be a Mandalorian bounty hunter game. EA has canceled it.
Oh my god, that's so wild.
There are rumors that it's because... like, it's not about Star Wars, but it's not about lightsabers, which I don't think that's the truth. It was canceled amidst a major shakeup and layoffs at the company, but the people who are working on it will largely be reassigned to projects like the third Jedi installment. So, I mean, bummer, but I'm hoping Star Wars Outlaw will be good. I'm looking forward to that game, even though it's by Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a bummer. It was just really funny considering we just talked about this and then immediately. The other thing that I saw, this was kind of interesting. So there is a new book coming out called Star Wars: The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire. It is a book that is written like it's a book in the Star Wars universe.
Okay.
It is it's an in-universe history book about the Empire, written by Beaumont Kin, who is this character played by Dominic Monaghan from The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, little Irish boy. He's one of the hobbits.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Pippin, if I'm correct.
I think that's right. But so the actual real author in our universe or whatever is historian Dr. Chris Kempshall. So that's kind of cool. I always think those are kind of like, I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of like similar to like George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood. It's like those in-universe ones are like books are kind of fun. And we've talked about this a lot, but it's always just so funny.
He's not Pippin, he's Mary. He's the other one.
Okay, the other one.
There's a 50-50 chance. Anyways, continue.
This is just something we've talked about a lot, about how 9BBY was a terrible year for Vader. And it was added to, so there's a couple reasons. And a lot of things happen in 9BBY. The ninth sister gets executed by Cal Kestis. Go Cal, we love him. Third sister, which is Reva, betrays him.
Portrays him Vader.
Betrays Vader. He fights Sarah Junda to the point he's set ablaze, and she almost had him on death's door. It was his chosen one plot armor that tipped. No, I'm kidding. But he was limping out of that fight, and then he rematches Obi-Wan Kenobi 10 years later after he lost on Mustafar. His mask is damaged, reveals his face. And in the same year, Cal Kestis also took out an entire ISB station by himself. Vader is having a terrible time. A very, very bad, no good time.
Very good.
That's all I had.
No good. Very bad. Don't do
No,
it.
that was really all I had.
That's all your news?
Yeah. That's
That's all I've got. So
all I got.
Now's the time for us to talk to Bailey about Godzilla. Not Godzilla X Kong. I was about to wrong movie.
We were actually invited out to Hollywood to see it firsthand. They really wanted us to talk about it.
Godzilla, King of Monsters. We have with us, not in the studio, but via Discord video chat,
Not
an
sponsored.
old friend of mine named Bailey. Hi, Bailey.
Hello.
It's great to have you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we actually can see each other. Initially, Bailey thought he had lost his webcam in his last move, but
Yeah.
we can see each other. But viewers or listeners, I always call them viewers, but they're actually listeners. Listeners, you cannot see us obviously because it's a podcast. So Bailey, every time we have someone on the show for the first time, we have them introduce themselves and just discuss their relationship to our topics. So yeah, give us a quick introduction of yourself and start off with your relationship to Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. My name is Bailey. I go by Movie Daddy on TikTok and a bunch of other my socials. So I got to plug that really quick, just in case anyone recognizes me from that little obnoxious side thing that I do. But my relationship with Star Wars has just kind of been from birth. I've always been a Star Wars kid. My parents pretty much raised me on Star Wars. Viewers can't see my room, and you can't see my room either, but there is a giant Yoda looming over me at all times. And then on the other wall is an Empire Strikes Back poster that is also looming over me at all times. Let's just say whenever I have guests over, they're very intimidated by this whole setup. Which is intentional. I don't want anyone coming in here besides me. Anyway, it's been a thing. It's been a very love-hate relationship, I would say. But whenever I've hated it, I've come back around to it. Except for Rise of Skywalker. I can't forgive that one. That is the one Star Wars thing I just cannot forgive. But yeah, that's my relationship with Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of all time. That's it.
And tell us what you think. What's your relationship to Transformers?
Transformers it was my favorite movie.
Oh.
The first
no.
one, the 2007 Michael Bay one, or the original 86?
The Michael Bay one. I remember, oh my gosh. Sorry, you're bringing back a memory. I was like having one of my first ever memories of having like heated film discussions was with my aunt in a McDonald's, where I was talking about how great Transformers is compared to Michael Bay's earlier works like Armageddon, and how that film pales in comparison.
Core memory.
It is a core memory. I defended that movie to everyone and loved it to death. And then I rewatched it after I got older, and I just go, this is loud, and I'm tired.
It's loud and I'm tired.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
I think we probably went through a similar thing with those movies, and to the point where it kind of came back around, and you and I watched 5 together. I think it was both of our first time seeing it, and it kind of eventually circled back around to being so bad that it was good. And that's why we're here today, I think, partially.
That didn't happen to me. It just circled around from being bad to being worse.
And who's your Transformer? Who's your Allison's? Sorry, that's my wife's name. Rachel. Rachel's favorite guy is Jazz. Who's your Transformer?
I am a huge Shockwave fan. If you remember the third one,
Sure.
he was the guy who like brought in the Dune Worm knockoff. I say that it came before the giant Dune Worm that we know from Denis. Which I think maybe Denis stole from Transformers and just made a giant worm better.
Worm.
But I'm not going to call him out on that because he absolutely improved upon Worms in film. But yeah, Shockwave has always been my boy. He's a psychopath. He's weirdly intelligent. He has so much rich lore that you just have to look into in the comics.
Senator Shockwave, I know what you're talking about.
It's just, he's insane. He's all about like, we have to save Cybertron, but I'm also a Decepticon, so I'm okay with destroying it, but we have to keep it safe at the same time. And it's like, okay, you're complex. We get it. What are you doing? Oh, that's bad. Genocide is bad. Let's not do that.
Crimes.
Ugh.
Well,
But yeah.
speaking of psychopaths who are strangely intelligent, have lots of lore, Godzilla. What I know, you were like the first person I ever met who was a big Godzilla fan. I did not realize until we went and saw the 2014 Godzilla together that like Godzilla was huge to at least Americans. So how did that happen?
That was another thing that was like, my dad introduced me to Godzilla whenever I was young. And that was like the first time that I ever watched late night movies and got to stay up past my bedtime, was because I heard my dad watching TV. And so I like snuck out of bed, and then I walked in and I just saw him like watching the old cheesy 70s Godzilla. Like, I think I remember the first one I saw was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Oh my god.
And it was during the final fight with King Caesar. And he saw me and he's like, get over here. You're missing the best part. And so I went and I sat down next to him. I was like, this is so cool. What is this? And then he started like buying Godzilla DVDs, and I just kept watching them. I remember on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we were out of school and the Sci-Fi Channel had a marathon. And so I saw some of my favorite Godzilla films from that marathon. And it's always been a thing. And after the 2014 film, I've just fallen in love with Godzilla all over again.
Fun.
It's just, I love him. I love him to death.
He's a big
He's
lizard
so
man.
cool. He's a big lizard man.
I watched last summer. I spent like all summer watching all of like the original ones, at least up through like the first Toho era. And I was watching them back to back to back, and it was funny because at some point I was getting to the films and I was like, they're just reusing footage. I've already seen the entirety of this movie before.
I was gonna say there is one Godzilla film that's notorious for that, and even Godzilla fans hate it. And it's one of those situations where it goes by many names, but I think it's in America called Godzilla's Revenge.
I think.
And they just reuse footage.
Yep.
Straight from Son of Godzilla. And it's just like, okay. And that was one of the first ones that my dad got me on DVD for a birthday. And that is a gift I will never forgive him for.
Oh. He tried.
He tried. I mean, it was a Godzilla film, so it was an exposure to it. And I enjoyed it until I saw Son of Godzilla and went like, hey, Dad.
Wait a second.
Wait a second. That's illegal. No, it's not.
As Taylor Swift said, I think I've seen this film before.
Jeez. Not one of the subjects of this podcast. So our fourth category officially of the podcast is animation. The one animated movie we've covered so far since we added that was The Boy and the Heron. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
How was your reaction to this movie?
I am excited for it or Across the Spider-Verse to win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Initially, I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie compared to other Ghibli films, but as I've kind of sat with it and ruminated just a little more and thought about like what it was saying and, you know, even some of the history of Miyazaki himself, I was just like, this film hits so much harder whenever you look at like what he is trying to say, what Miyazaki is trying to say. And it's like, oh, this is about you not wanting to let go after you've tried so many times because everyone around you keeps screwing it up in your eyes. I'm just like, oh, Ouch. Ow. I cannot imagine being his son watching that movie after everything that they've gone through together. I'm sure we'll talk about it more. I'm just going on my tangent.
No, that's an interesting take. That's something we did not really talk about on our episode. Actually, we did 2 episodes on it, and we didn't really talk about his son much. But I think I think we did a little bit because his son, I think, may have directed one of your favorites, which is, I don't want to say this without being correct. Let me look this up. Do you know what his name is off the top of your head? It's definitely Miyazaki, but I don't know his first name.
Well, one of the ones he did, if I remember correctly, was that Earwig and the Witch, which was not as
that was very poorly
loved.
received.
Oh, horrible. It's
Goro.
Yep. Oh, Goro.
He did from Up on Poppy Hill, which that is one of your favorites. Is
that
it
is
not?
one of my favorites.
Yes.
So good.
So
They did Tales from Earthsea too, which I have not seen.
see, I've not seen either of any of the 3 that he made. But obviously, like, it's got to be difficult when your father is, one of the best artists in the world, at least in his medium, right. And you're trying to work in the exact same medium, and it is just
and he keeps coming out of retirement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
back.
keep hoping your dad will finally retire, so you have a chance. You have somewhat of a chance, and he just keeps coming home and hitting homers.
Right.
One more thing. We have not had a chance to talk about this yet, but we will be talking about Kung Fu Panda 4 when it comes out, because we're both big Kung Fu Panda fans. Do you have any takes on the Kung Fu Panda franchise?
Well, the first 3 are fantastic.
I'm so scared for the 4th one. I'm so scared.
As a movie-based TikToker, I have a lot of mutuals who are in Hollywood and who have attended the premiere, and they've shared their thoughts and opinions.
Oh no!
That did not sound enthusiastic.
Let me just. I want to preface it with this guy named Soups. I'm not mutuals with him, but he's notorious on TikTok film side. He started his review with, first off, I just want to thank the crew and the animators for making this movie, because movies are really hard to make no matter what.
No.
And as soon as I heard that, I went, oh no.
That was kind of our review of the Monarch show.
That was our
like, we were really appreciative to the tech people, but now things aren't starting off too bad as of right now. A few days before the movie officially comes out, it has 43 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes with a 77% fresh rating. So that's much higher than I was expecting. It's not certified fresh yet. There could come in more reviews. It's not an audience score yet.
Fresh. But
that is, I mean, obviously that's low for the series. Right here I can see that Kung Fu Panda 3 had 87%, but that is not as like detrimental as I was expecting. So there might be some hope. And it's only an hour and a half. Like, that's very respectable length for an animated film. Well, cool. So we're very excited to talk about today's topic. Well, first, before we get to the movie, our first topic that we can we don't have to spend a ton of time on, but Bad Batch, season 3. So just I wanted to ask you, Bailey, what is your broad opinions on Bad Batch?
Bad Batch is one of those series that I personally think is gonna be a sleeper hit.
Okay.
I already kind of like it. I also kind of don't like it. It's just, I'm frustrated with obvious filler episodes, and Bad Batch's biggest thing is there are so many episodes that are just dedicated to not necessarily even building the characters. It's just stranded on planet. We have to find a thing to get our ship working, and we face adversity from the environment we're on. We get the thing, we get off the planet. And it's a formula that they follow a little too much. But when they don't, and they actually are pursuing, like, hey, here's some character stuff, here's some things that move an overarching plot forward, I'm fully on board and loving what I'm seeing. I love these characters. Crosshairs is one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. Especially after this most recent season, which we'll talk about, I just love him. I'm excited to see where this season is going. I'm really hopeful it ends strong so that we can look back and say overall that show was really good and not just mediocre. We're gonna forget about it a few months after it comes out. Ahsoka.
Dang. Oh wow. That
Oof.
laying down the heat there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good overview. I can understand that. I too am hoping that it will end strong. We'll see how we feel after talking about these two latest episodes. So we had the season premiere. That was the first 3 episodes of the season. And since we last recorded, there have been 2 more episodes, episode 4 and 5. I assume you're caught up, Bailey?
Yes, I caught up today.
Yeah, so normally how we talk through new episodes of shows is we just kind of talk through the plot and comment as we go along. So feel free to interject here with thoughts as we, or if we miss something, please say so. Rachel, you wanna kick us off with episode 3?
You mean 4?
Yes, sorry, episode 4. I saw the number 3 and I thought that's where we were. That's the name of the season.
No. Oh gosh, I don't have the synopsis like down pat for episode 4, but we've escaped Tantus. We are with Omega, Crosshair, and Bad Batch. It's funny because Crosshair is my least favorite.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh yeah, this is long. If you listen to our best of episode, I did like a sizzle reel or a highlight of our first year, and one of our running jokes was just totally crapping on Crosshair. I just pitch in because Rachel loves doing it so much. But yeah, Rachel really loves hates Crosshair.
And in my defense, I haven't liked him since like season 7 of Clone Wars, so I just didn't like him from the start, and they just kept making bad decisions, and I was like, ugh, more to the fire. Anyways, to move on, so they have gone to a planet. I think it was called Lau, like Lau.
And they crash.
Oh yeah, they crash land. I forgot.
They don't even get to land. They crash.
Yeah, they crash land.
So they're stranded here.
And so
they
like,
crash and they need to go somewhere fast.
They are, but this planet actually has civilization, so that's good. They go to the nearest town, and they're like, "Well, we need a way to get off planet, but we don't want to let the Empire know we're here." And so they're able to bribe the ticket person, but needing like 30,000 credits. And so I'm sorry, there's like a thumbs up that keeps floating on the screen, and it's so funny to me.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm discovering things on Discord.
When Bailey puts his thumb up. If he does a physical thumbs up or thumbs down, it does an animated thumb up or thumbs down as well.
That's weird.
I'm so sorry we're discovering this on a podcast. I wish they could see it because I was tuned out for the discussion. My ADHD brain is just like, yay, new toy.
New toy.
Oh, it's a good thing we don't have you and Allison on the same episode.
We'd have like a 4-part
episode.
Done. So they need money, and so actually the way they're going to do this is a throwback back from season 1 or 2. It was season 1, I think, when they found out Omega's really good at gambling and winning.
Oh, I don't remember this. How did they figure that out?
When they were in Sid's cantina, they had to make some money, and they weren't doing too well, and so Omega's like, "Let me try," and she sent a lot of people home with no money in their pockets. Got them enough money to pay off Sid for some reason.
Yeah, and Crosshair wasn't exposed to that.
He wasn't. He didn't
so
exist.
This was like her way of showing him, like, look what I can do, and he's like, okay, that's cool, I guess.
This kid can do things. And so go to a bar, and they start winning, and then an Imperial officer comes in, and I had to laugh. These stormtroopers that we keep seeing around this planet are dripped out. They have clothes.
Well, I also had
nice.
that note. I'm trying to find it on my phone here so we can look at it a little closer. There's one particular stormtrooper walking around with like a parka on, and it has like this like really stiff collar, and it looked so ridiculous to me, and I can't really quite put it into words. I'm trying to find it here so I can really take a look at it and try to.
Is he the one who, whenever they blast off at the end, he like climbs up the thing and looks right at the engine and then gets?
I think
been.
so, or one of these parka troopers.
Yeah, I think it might have been like the same guy throughout the episode. I think that might have been like the bit they were running with. Was just, this guy is so dripped out. Watch him get folded.
They're like, remember this.
Remember
this.
And then
I am trying to remember who did the voice actor for this specific commander. I can't remember his name, but he's kind of he's not like it doesn't look like your usual typical Imperial. Probably a local that was made into an Imperial officer because they went, we need someone, and you are the first person we see. And you'll probably scam your people, as we see. He plays Omega, and she beats him. And so they have enough money for tickets, and then he goes, oh, yeah, you won. By the way, gambling's illegal. So I'm going to need you to give me some money to pay your fine. And it was like a 10,000 credit fine or something. So they had to pay some money, and they just barely had enough for 2 tickets. And as we're going through this, Batcher is there, the dog. She's still around. And so at some point, Crosshair was ready to just like kill everyone in that bar. And so Omega like sent him out so he wouldn't do things like that. Casual. And so they pay the money, they go out, and then Batcher is gone. And some child on the street says he'll tell them where Batcher went because the Imperial commander took him if they give him money. So they have to pay him. And I think this puts them down to below what they need for 2 tickets off planet.
So I'm going to take a quick step back. I finally found the image of the Stormtrooper in the parka. I don't know if it's parka or like additional armor, but like if it's supposed to be a parka, it's way too stiff. And if it's armor, it's way too bulky to be effective. I figured out why I thought it was so funny. He looks like Poe's dad in the like Captain Rhino or whatever armor from Kung Fu Panda 3 that's like really bulky and like he can barely move in his arms. The guy's like arms are like out like this the whole time, the Stormtrooper. And it looks like a kid wearing a costume as well. It just looks so silly.
It's like the most impractical thing that you could wear. It's like you're already wearing like insulated armor. What do you need the coat for?
Exactly.
He got the drip. And so the kid tells him, oh, they took I was going to call Batcher the dog because I don't know what her actual breed is. Space dog, space pit bull. I don't know. Space dog. And they're like, oh, they're taking her down to the cargo area. And so we get to the cargo area and we actually get an interesting sequence that feels very Jurassic Park.
Oh God.
But we noticed one thing, because they had all kinds of whatever stock Star Wars animal noises. And we noticed one of the stormtroopers moved a cage and there was a porg noise.
Yes.
Which we were like, the porgs. So porgs canonically exist outside of that one island. And so...
Octu,
yeah.
Bless you.
Anyways, good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. So... And interrupt me if I forget anything, but so they get caught by that same Imperial officer and his goons. A fight ensues, and they release all the animals, and all of this.
It just makes me think of. It really does make me think of Jurassic World.
It does.
The Fallen Kingdom, where the clone girl releases all of the monsters.
Wow,
I
what
know,
a parallel.
It's a little
Just they're alive like me. If Omega would have said that, I think I would have loved the episode maybe a little more than I do already.
Yeah. They release the animals, and that Imperial officer actually gets got, like in a
almost
pretty
immediately.
brutal way.
A big tentacle comes out,
and I've heard.
Yeah, the Rathtar.
Yes, the Rathtar, which we see. Which
is that what it is? Okay, Force Awakens.
Yep. And so that I remember thinking I made I don't know how many shooter memes throughout the whole scene because it was just too funny. But kind of a brutal way to go out because he shuts the door on himself.
Yeah, for a second I thought we had turned on the wrong Bad Batch, but then thankfully it cut away.
No.
So
and then we get to the what I think was probably the best part of the episode. Crosshair and Omega escape on another ship, and as they are taking off in this cargo ship, the camera focuses on a lone stormtrooper.
yeah, it is the guy in the parka.
On a lone stormtrooper in a little outpost tower. And it zooms in on him, and you see like his face lighting up from the exhaust, and it cuts back out to a wide shot, and the force of the thrust throws him out of the tower, and the scream was so funny. Because I was expecting a Wilhelm scream, I was like, that would be very unfair. And it's just actually some poor man in the recording booth screaming.
Some porka man.
Oh. So
I'm trying to find. I had it here a second ago. I'm trying to find so we can play the noise. Where is it?
Cameron's
I was like, that clip's been floating around for the past
Yeah.
week.
There it
I know
goes.
I've seen it.
There it is.
Here.
That's good. That's good. I like it.
It's a good one.
That was definitely my favorite moment of the
It's a
episode.
very good highlight. And so they escape. They manage to get out. We do get, and their whole goal is they've been trying to contact Hunter and Wrecker, trying to contact someone. We do get a scene where, not Rampart. He was last season's antagonist. Dr. Hemlock, the scientist,
Yes.
he has shown up with his crew, and they find the crashed Imperial shuttle. And he's doing that weird thing where he's holding his hand.
Yeah,
and
Bailey, do you have
plotting.
have you heard anything about that? No, have any ideas as to what's going on with Hemlock's hand? Have you noticed
I've noticed he's grabbed it, and I haven't really paid too much other attention to it. I really need to go back and rewatch. Is he always wearing a glove on that hand? Or...
I think so.
I think he is.
Okay.
I think he's going to turn out to be a Skywalker. He's going to be a robot hand. He's a Skywalker all along. Because anyone can choose to be a Skywalker.
No, it's
as
his
we
left
all
hand.
know.
It's the wrong one.
Oh no! So he's
can't.
he's a
Fake fan.
clone.
He's a fake fan.
He's a clone.
Oh, he's a Luke Skywalker clone from the hand.
No!
And has
Before it even
gone back in
happened.
time. And Palpatine has grown him.
There's all the worst possible things: time travel, clones of main characters.
Not Luke.
But hold on, that reveal has to come in the last episode within the last 7 minutes, just so we hit all of the bad writing tropes that we can. Just reveal everything at the end. Blah, 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 blah. It's all bad. Just get out of here.
And this is like the last
Quickly, we have to
season.
roll credits.
Yeah, this is the last season, so that would be and we'll never touch on this again. Or it'll show up in season 5 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
In 2 seasons. So they escape, and Omega manages to contact Wrecker and Hunter, and so they come to a planet, and I thought I had seen or a moon. I thought I had seen this moon before because Karen made a comment, how many moons exist in Star Wars that they can just continuously breathe without their helmets on? And so the moon that they land on is the same moon from, I believe it's season 1 when they go to Ryloth.
I saw
And they
this,
meet
yeah.
Hera. So that was like, oh, that kind of was nice.
I didn't recognize because there was no French-sounding aliens around to remind me of where we
no
were.
French. Wrecker and Hunter are there. Wrecker comes out, and I think he and Omega actually have a really little sweet reunion. They cross the galaxy 5 times trying to find her. Hunter comes out.
I think that might be a little hyperbolic.
Well, that's what they said in the
I
show.
was gonna say, you crossed the galaxy 5 times, and of those 5, you didn't stumble upon me once. Come on, Hunter.
They're just
There's no
going
time to exaggerate, just to be cute.
they're just going light speed in a star pattern. Well, she's not here. And so
they should have asked their mom. If you ask your mom where something is,
Who's their
it'll
mom?
just be there. Echo.
Echo is mom of the group.
No, it's Nalusu
Yeah,
or whatever.
you're right.
Or
you're
Shock
right.
T. She had a big part in the clones.
Chuck T.
She's
I
clone
just go
mom.
visit her grave, and they're just like, "Hey,
Which one? There's
hey, mom."
she just had 4 different deaths.
A different
Oh.
grave for each canonical death.
I was gonna say, it's just a really big mausoleum, and they're just like, she's in there somewhere.
Shock T, Shock T, Shock T, Shock T. So they reunite, and then Crosshair comes down the ramp of their ship looking like his skinny little self, and he's kind of standing there like the emoji.
Oh.
And it's a little tense. And then the episode ends.
It ends on the most beautiful shot they've done so far.
It does. It was a
I
really
love
pretty
that
shot.
It was pretty. I liked it.
Well, I have a completely unrelated note just because I don't know how. I want to say this, but I don't know how to segue into it. I should have said it earlier. So, through this entire episode, while they're on whatever planet they were on, they're trying to
Wow.
be like really low key, and
Sneaky.
Crosshair is. Oh, by the way, our Crosshair incident
Our
counter.
Crosshair incident counts back to 0.
During a year ago, Bailey, for context, during season 2, Crosshair was like not in it much, and so we had an ongoing counter of days since our last Crosshair incident, and we'd be really upset when it reset. We'd be really upset when it would reset.
Emphasis, I would be
so
upset.
now
and
it's
Cameron
being
would not.
upset every week. But in this episode, to try to look like the local, he's wearing this like breather thing. And in case you forgot, that's what it looks like. And Rachel just says it looks like he's wearing a airport pillow that you have around your neck, which is very dead
He's wearing
on.
the airport like pillow. He's wearing a COVID mask. He's just going on a flight. That's all it is.
And the
That's all
baseball
he is.
cap. He looks like a very typical. Wait, hold on. I guess it's like not technically a baseball cap. It's kind of like a helmet thing. But like, I don't know if we've ever seen a hat that quite looks this much like a baseball cap in Star Wars. Pretty monumental
brim.
moment.
The brim.
Do you have any like just general notes from this episode, Rachel?
Fun. I mean, Stormtrooper yell was really the highlight for me. I loved that. It was just kind of out of nowhere. We added that character to our list of characters that just fall forever, and we never see them land. So
We did not see him land. He goes on the list.
we've had Wilco, or no, not Wilco. That trooper, that Rampart shot.
It was Wilco.
It was
Yeah,
Wilco,
yeah.
and fell like who knows how many feet.
Well, he's still falling.
He's
He's
still
still falling.
Yeah.
Was that back on Dooku Planet?
Yeah, it was. This is the
Yeah.
end of that second episode.
Him, Tech. Never saw him hit the ground. He's still falling.
Still falling.
So we can add poncho goggles.
Maybe
Hey.
Hemlock took Tech's hand and replaced his own hand.
No.
Tech's hand. Here's every theory ever.
Hey, it's not Star Wars if there's not ponchos involved.
It's not.
It's not. They had to bring it in somehow.
I had another thought along these lines. Oh, so one of my biggest problems with just television in general is how you oftentimes have your big cliffhanger, and then it's taken care of pretty quickly in the next season. While this is the end of the 4th episode, which is decently far into the season, technically, it really is only episode 2 since they premiered the first 3 episodes all together. So at the end of this episode, our main heroes are back together again after being separated at the end of the last season. So now it is obviously a new conflict that Crosshair has rejoined the Bad Batch after being gone for most of the show and being their antagonist. But the whole big cliffhanger of Omega being gone has been resolved. Bailey, do you have any feelings about this?
She's on the cat tree.
It's not my favorite episode until we get
Yeah.
to that end. It's the classic. Oh, hey, our ship crashed. Now we gotta get
The
off
ship's
this
broke
planet.
again.
Which, sticks to formula. But at the same time, there are elements of like actual character development. Omega and Crosshair kind of working together was fun to see. Seeing, but they're like studying each other. They want to know like, how do you tick? I've never seen you in action.
The last
And
time,
it's like the first time that we're seeing them experience each other like that.
really,
So he's getting to see her gamble and use her own skills. and she's seeing him like just let me do my
murder
thing and
people.
just kill everyone, and we'll solve a lot of problems. And hey, it works.
You know, that actually, not to cut you off, Rachel, just to add on to Bailey's point, that kind of brings up an interesting idea, though, actually, is that up until now, pretty much anything Crosshair did was kind of a surefire thing, because his thing is sniping, and he was such a good shot, he would make almost
his
every
job
shot.
is gun.
But now that we have this issue of him having the really shaky hand, he's totally lost it. Gambling is almost the exact opposite of his strategy, which is like very much what the Bad Batch does, is like take very low chance things. So it is interesting how uncomfortable he has to be, not just because he's lost his primary skill and he's out of his element and he's no longer backed by the Empire, but because what thing that Omega is trying to do is so opposite from his. So that is kind of an interesting, whenever you have a pair of people, they need to contrast each other, and that is an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Rachel?
I was going to say, previously, most of Omega's interactions with Crosshair, he's had his gun pointed at her.
Right?
Like he's been like, I'm going to shoot this child. For the most part.
Goodness.
And so we can move on now to episode 4.
You mean
5? Dang it! I keep looking at the wrong things in my notes.
I made a joke at the end of episode 4 when Wrecker was like, we crossed the galaxy 4 times, and Hunter corrects him with 5, and I made a joke that 4 is just the highest Wrecker might be able to count to, and the way Cameron is working with the episode numbers, maybe that's true for you too.
I'm trying to avoid getting too high because I don't know how to count that high. So we got episode 5, which is called The Return. Not a great title, actually. Not that relevant.
It's the return to what? The
Yeah.
return to what, Cameron?
Another planet.
A planet we've been to before.
Hey, they've already made the assets. That's how they were able to come out with another season in a year. They're just reusing assets.
Copy and paste, baby.
Amen.
And so we start off on Pabu, which was Rachel and I both simultaneously made very negative noises. This is the planet that they had finally found a quote unquote home on last season, and it just was like, you talked about filler episodes, Bailey. Like, this island is a filler episode of an island. Like, anytime they go here, nothing happens. And like,
It is the beach episode of the Bad Batch.
It really is.
Anime fans will know exactly what the
It
beach
really
episode
is.
and I mean, I think it's probably fine because they're not going to spend as much time on Pabu, and so it's just kind of their
Right.
home base of operations. Last season, everyone almost died because they had moved into the lower levels of the island and a hurricane swept in.
As a tsunami.
And then we never saw anyone in this episode, so Rachel and I postulated that perhaps everyone moved back to the lower part of the island and got wiped out because the Bad Batch was there to save them.
Where is Wanda Sykes? Is she safe? Is she all right?
She's not taking Tech's death very well.
Oh my God! We still haven't seen that closure.
Yeah.
Wait, or did we? Did she say something at the end of last season?
I do not
say
remember.
anything. Maybe they walked up and they were just like,
because they come.
like, "Where's Tech?"
I think they come back to Sid's, which is every episode in
Yeah.
season 2. I think they come back to Sid's and she's there, Fee, and I think she asked. I don't know. I think there's a comment about it, and like no one responds. And she,
Where's glasses?
Oh yeah, that's where she is. Or goggles. Where's goggles? And no one
Goggles,
no
where's
one says
goggles?
anything, which is, I guess, probably safe to say, could use some context clues and go, oh,
Just once, I want a character to say he died. He died.
Yeah, they haven't.
Dead.
They haven't
They just
said
keep
that yet.
yelling that.
They're just like, Tech. Remember him?
Where's Tech? And they just walk over on the back of their ship. They have little stick figures who represent each of the members of the family, and they just peel one off to show that he's not with them anymore.
They put a little circle above his head, and they're like, Halo.
They put Crosshairs back up, and it's like half peeling off, falling down.
It didn't feel right throwing it away.
It's like it's crumpled. It's like they definitely like threw it in a trash can. It's just like barely hanging on.
And they're like, oh, he's back, rifling through the trash can. I know they never take the trash out on that ship. I know.
Oh no.
That's I know that ship smells like a frat house.
And so this episode establishes pretty early that the conflict is going to be that Hunter doesn't trust Crosshair, which fair.
Valid.
But Wrecker says that Omega trusts him, that's enough for him, so he's kind of moved on. Crosshair knows that they don't trust him, so he doesn't trust them.
Wrecker does also have that context where his chip activated. Remember in season 1, that was one of the episodes. So he might have that context of, I kind of get it.
Except for Crosshair removed his chip, so that's not relevant.
He's not thinking that hard about it. He's like, we're back.
And so, I mean, I kind of the exposition just kind of went all over in one ear, went out the other. They need to do something. I don't remember what it is.
I was making macaroni and cheese, so I'm in the same boat.
So
I had my iPad sitting there, and I was just like, "Oh, they don't trust each other." Anyway, gotta stir the pot.
So it starts off with they're on Pabu, much to our chagrin. We're like, no. And so Crosshair is doing some target practice with AV6, which I thought was really funny. Like, he probably just would have killed that droid if he could have. But he has like a 50% hit rate, which is, that's bad. And so they go up.
For most snipers in the Army, that's actually really
is
good.
it? See, I'm not a sniper in the Army, so I guess I wouldn't know. But so, yeah, he's like at 53%. His hand's still shaky. And so they go up to have a little dinner. We made a joke because one of the things on Pabu they keep like having in the scene is sushi. That's what I had for dinner. So I was like, wow, cool. So they need to find Echo has also come back. First time we've seen him in a while. Echo is back. And so the goal is that they are trying to find where Tantus is so they can free the rest of the clones.
Right.
And they're like, Nalase's iPad died, so we need to recharge it. And the only way we can do that without risking the encryption is going to an Imperial base. And Crosshair's like, I know a place. And
I hate this plot so much, especially after having watched the episode, because we're gonna say it does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work. They just get like, oh, there are clones that were in a medical facility here. Yay! Is this gonna come back and like help out later in the season? Is this gonna be an important episode?
My theory is that this was something I wish they had done last season, but we didn't get it. My theory is they're going to do a similar plot of the clone uprising that happened in Legends. That's what
I'm hopeful for that.
That's what I'm hoping they do.
They're gonna take we got another worm, ice worm this time.
Right, you're jumping ahead, Cameron.
But they're gonna how it's gonna come back is gonna take that with them, and they're gonna release that, and they're gonna what was the monster from last season? Like it was
season.
Yeah, it was the Zillosaur.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
or the Zillobeast.
Zillobeast. Thank you. The creature that helps you find an apartment. The Zillobeast and the ice worm and Batcher. And any other animals they could collect.
Jungle thing, the jungle sentient.
Oh yeah, the vine.
Sentient vines.
Yeah.
Insert vine.
Oh my
here.
God! Wait, were they teasing the ending of this season in the last episode? Is Omega gonna hit a big button, and then a bunch of the monsters they fought throughout the season are gonna come out of the walls like in the Cabin in the Woods, and they're just gonna have a big facility meltdown. It's like, oh my
that'd
gosh.
be good. That'd be real good. It's gonna be that, but just the clones probably, and they're all gonna tear apart.
He's in the walls.
I just want the elevator doors to open and just a bunch of clones come out and just start beating stormtroopers barehanded.
Oh, that'd be good. That's my hope. I would love to see it actually come to fruition, but who knows? So they
end up back on the same planet from
Season
Crosshair's
2.
big episode from last
Crosshair's
season,
big break,
where he finally got himself arrested.
Where he sees, I think,
Defects.
other clones as actual humans.
Yeah, and he ignores a command from an Imperial officer and shoots the Imperial officer. So we go back to that base that's been totally abandoned, and there's some like perimeter sensor deterrent things, and that's obviously a setup for not Chekhov's gun, but that's gonna obviously come back a few moments later.
What could this mean?
Yeah, what could this thing that's keeping away a thing possibly be doing? Maybe keeping away a thing.
So they hop it. They have to dig into the base, which was, I don't know, this is a little amusing. They hop in. The Hunter.
Oh no, yeah, the animation of Wrecker and Batcher both like digging through the snow is very cute. I will admit. There's another moment later where Wrecker has to dig through the snow by himself, and I like that they're kind of drawing parallels between Batcher and Wrecker. It's cute.
Golden Retriever energy. So they get into the base. Hunter and Crosshair are still beefing at each other in silence. Hunter has already gone after Crosshair. He's like, "What did you do to get arrested?" And I think he made a comment. He's like, "Did you betray them too?" And Crosshair was like, "I shot an Imperial officer." So they're beefing at each other. They get into the base, which has been powered down. So they redirect the energy from the perimeters. That's why the base's power is down. The perimeters have drained the battery to bring it back so they can charge the iPad so they can find out where Tantus is. That's what it is. iPad. Omega and the Bad Batch are iPad babies.
All of them.
Yeah, they're all iPad babies. They start charging it or whatever, working on it. Batcher is kind of freaking out about something, the way animals do when they're stressed, the way my cat does.
And this is so the thing shuts down, something starts rumbling, and this is while Crosshair and Hunter are arguing, so they don't notice it
But they
until Batcher starts barking.
Yeah, but then there's a bit where Crosshair starts to explore the base, and he finds the old armor of the clones that had died. Especially,
this is before,
the armor of the clone that he tried to save. And so this was actually I didn't actually mind Crosshair in this episode. We'll call that character development for me. He starts picking up the helmets, and he kind of starts like setting them upright on a box, which I thought that was very, it's kind of like a thing of respect. I couldn't bury them, but then I thought this scene is kind of funny because Hunter is just like standing in default pose in the background, like watching.
He does that a lot.
He
in this
does.
season. Like the series in general.
He's like
he's just always like looming.
Like
he's just.
Cameron, we could replicate that. I could go stand in the corner of my apartment on the camera, just like stand behind you, like to imitate it. So more rumbling. The dog or Batcher is like, "Rawr, rawr, rawr." He'll freak out. And so turns out when you shut off the perimeter on a barren wasteland, the inhabitants of a barren wasteland will come out. And this was a worm.
I really want to do the Dune theme. Ah!
Sounds like come get your dinner.
I did make a joke. I said if I had a nickel for each thing that came out in the past week that had worms in it, I'd have 2 nickels. So Worm shows up, and of course it strands their ship.
And according to the captions, it's spelled WYRM.
Worm. Oh yeah, no, that caption was right. It was. I think it might just be an ice worm.
Worm.
Space ice worm.
Regular spelling
I don't know
just doesn't
why.
do it.
Sorry, I'm blanking out. I said something recently. Oh, sorry. Because we're talking about an ice planet, I started thinking about that 2 nickels thing. And my thing is, if I had a nickel for every movie being released in March about the second coming of the Ice Age, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happening twice. Balloons!
We have
balloons!
No idea
Hold
what
on.
Bailey just did, but it triggered animated balloons
peace
on his
sign?
screen. It's the peace?
Oh,
Wow, that's bizarre.
Anyway, so Ghostbusters and Godzilla, I guess, are dealing with the second coming of an ice age, and they literally come out like either on the same day or a week apart.
Hilarious.
Nice. Oh.
Ghostbusters, something we are definitely not talking about on this podcast. But Godzilla X Kong, the new Kingdom Age, whatever it's
It's
called.
the new Empire. Cameron.
The
We do this
forbidden
every time.
age of
New
the Empire.
The Empire. Star Wars. Star Wars. Segway.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Dawn of Monsterverse. Anyways.
So the worm is there, and it's kind of stranded their ship. It's broken the ice, so thus they can't leave the ship without getting eaten. And so shenanigans ensue. Crosshair and Hunter go out to try to distract it. Hunter falls through the ice into a convenient tunnel, and not into a crevasse. Like those, and realistically, you fall into an ice crevasse, you're dead. You're never coming back. And so,
Been there, done that.
yeah, it's really inconveniencing. Omega and Wrecker and I almost said Tech too. Echo are inside the base. They're trying to divert the power back to the perimeters, but they have to make sure the worm is outside the perimeter, or else they'll just get locked.
I would have
in with
loved
them.
if they've just not thought about that and just activate it so they trap it in with them.
I didn't think that went through so well. So we get kind of some focus on Crosshair and Hunter having to trust each other, or Hunter having to trust Crosshair to lead him out of this ice worm tunnel, so he doesn't get eaten by the ice worm. They all in all, they do manage to get the worm outside the perimeter, turn on the perimeter, and it stops. And it actually sounds quite sad that it can't eat Hunter and Crosshair. I noticed that.
Yeah, this thing is real
Pathetic.
pitiful.
It's like,
Once it
It's
can't-
real
yeah.
moody.
It's like I was. It's probably starving, honestly. But so they, they celebrate. They get out, and one thing, they dig out the ship. At least I think they're digging out the ship. One thing I noticed, I wanted to ask you guys. So both Crosshair and Hunter had shovels, which cool. So I'm guessing they dug out the ship. I can't remember what their ship's name is, but their ship. But I didn't realize that. I'm guessing they're digging out the ship. I thought they were burying those clones, like that armor. But we didn't get a scene of it. That was just my assumption. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that either. I mean, I might have just been
Maybe it's just
a
wishful
whole
thinking.
pot deep in macaroni by that point.
Mac and cheese.
Just like worm. All right, mac and cheese.
Mac and
Worm. Mac and
So pretty much
cheese.
the big moment of the final scene is that Crosshair actually apologizes.
Well, he doesn't say I'm sorry, but
That's
he
true.
does admit he
does
was
as clo-
wrong.
as close to an apology
You will not
as a
forgive him until
psychopath
he
is going to
says
give.
sorry.
Look, my beef.
I didn't know what I was getting into with something called the Empire.
Look, my beef with Crosshair started when they were on that mission to rescue Echo, and he made a comment that he's like, "He's just another reg," and I was like, "Oh, it's on site! It's on site!"
Fair.
I was like, you're mean. But so we do kind of have this nice moment between Hunter and Crosshair, and Hunter's still upset. I actually liked one of their earlier interactions when they were really beefing, and Crosshair tells Hunter, "You're just mad that Omega escaped and you weren't there." He was like, "This is your fault. You ignored my message." I thought that was really, I actually kind of thought that was pretty powerful. I was like, ooh, add some salt in that wound of his.
That took me away from my macaroni. I was like, oh, hello.
You're like, oh,
Oh, they're spilling tea over here, man. They're really getting into
it's
it.
getting spicy.
Nail's gonna come out. And so they fly away.
Ladies. I was almost kind of expecting Omega or Wrecker to come over and be like, ladies, calm down."
Was that your was that your Omega impression?
Yes.
That's a pretty solid record.
I'm glad you caught it. I've been working on it.
Okay, that's the end of the episode. Can we be done talking about Bad Batch now?
Cameron,
Please.
let's start off with Bad Batch.
I just
asks me for the
I'm trying to get
synopsis.
through it so that because I didn't want to be done with Godzilla and then have to talk about Bad Batch. Okay, we're on to the real topic of tonight after almost an hour of recording with Bailey.
I do think probably a chunk of that was us trying to figure out the sound.
That's true.
true.
So, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, a 2019 release directed by I had his name in my head a second ago. Not important. Not really that important. Here it is.
Steve? I don't know.
It's
Michael
important to me.
Dougherty, who
Dougherty.
previously had done Krampus, the 2015
Yes.
horror comedy. He also worked on the screenplay for Superman Returns and X-Men 2, which I always forget.
Ah,
And this is the sequel to Godzilla 2014. It's the third movie in the kaiju verse, which also included Kong
Island.
Skull Island. And
Scroll Island.
now, was there a movie previous to this called King of the Monsters? Was there another Godzilla movie that shared the same subtitle? And which one is that?
yes. It's King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
But like, is that like what?
It's
Was a
from the 1960s.
Yeah, it's an old one. I think it is.
I think it's just Godzilla King of the Monsters, which was the
It's-
Americanized version of the 1954
Yeah,
film.
it's the
Ah.
one where they were like, "We're gonna make this for American audiences." Take out the American bad.
Yeah,
Take out that. Take out that.
that one where they added Steve Martin, not
Yes.
Steve Martin,
A different
Steve
Steve Martin.
a character named
And they
Steve
removed
Martin. Yeah.
all of the other characters from the movie and just replaced it with him holding a little megaphone thing going, "Oh my god, it's so horrible. What I'm seeing is so bad. There are people crying and screaming." And it's like, yeah, there are in the Japanese version. It's heart-wrenching. But now we've just got you talking over Godzilla doing awful things.
And so yeah, I feel like that's primarily what they're referencing here by calling this one King of the Monsters. They're referencing the original subtitle. It stars the big star I'd say is Billy Bobby Brown.
Billy Bobby Brown.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did I say?
Billy.
Billy? Oh no, she's definitely a Billy. Most famous for starring as Eleven in Stranger Things.
But
Well,
Enola Holmes, erasure.
I mean, obviously the real star is Ken Watanabe as Dr. Ishiro. Is that how you pronounce his first name? Do you know? They don't say it very
Ishiro
much.
Honda.
Ishiro Serizawa.
Oh, Sarazawa. Oh my god, Ishiro Honda is a different person.
But then in here you've also got Kyle Chandler, who's like one of those guys that you know from everything.
Yep.
Another man.
I'm gonna do a specific reference here for one of our favorite listeners, Megan. He starred in a TV show called, oh dang it, what's it called?
Dang.
It was like one of the first things he did. It was in the early 2000s. It was called Early Edition, where a magic cat would bring him tomorrow's newspaper, and he would have the headlines for the next day. That's the kind of things they were making TV shows about in the early 2000s. But he's also like almost the exact same character in Super 8 and also The Spectacular Now. Those are the two movies I feel like at least Super 8 is what I know him from. And he's also like the main FBI agent investigating Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. Then
We've got
he's Millie Bobby Brown. So Millie Bobby Brown's character is Madison, which I do not have any recollection of her having a name. I just
they call her Maddie.
so that's what it is.
It's literally just Millie Bobby Brown.
Well,
that's
half-
all
half
you have
the
to say.
time-
And people go, yeah.
Half the time they're saying her name, it's when everything else in the environment is like exploding. So
Yep.
it's like it's like under 6 layers of thunder and kaiju roars.
So his name is Mark, and he's Millie's dad. You have Vera Farmiga playing her mom. They have two very different. They have similar but different roles in this world. Her dad is like he's like a biologist. Like he
They
studies
were-
like, pack animals, wolves, and her mom is an eco-terrorist.
Well, hold on, spoilers.
I love how that is the plot of the movie is the eco-terrorism versus.
We've also sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was running out of thought juice, so feel free.
One thing that was
No.
one thing I noticed that ties to our subject we talk about sometimes when Cameron allows it, Transformers. Anthony Ramos is in this film. He plays one of the he plays Staff Sergeant Martinez, and he is also Noah Diaz in Rise of the Beast that just came out last year. So
Yeah.
and for those of you that don't know him in acting, he was in the original Hamilton cast.
Yes.
So
The one other
John
actor,
Lauren
John Lawrence.
and Philip.
the one other actor we have to shout out, just because I know Rachel will have to do it at some point, is Charles Dance as our like secondary
my
human
man.
villain. And he's just like the most like he's almost
such a threat.
he's very similar to Crosshair, I'd say, as this
No!
like skinny evil man.
I hate that.
But it's, imagine a British villain.
No.
This guy is that British villain.
Stop. Your privileges are revoked. You don't get to say his name anymore.
He shows up and he stands there, tells people what to do, and then we never see him again because Charles Dance notoriously hated this movie
Oh,
and
hilarious.
doing it, and literally just did it for a paycheck.
Really?
so-
That breaks my
Yeah,
heart.
no, he like in interviews afterwards, he's just been like, nah.
He's like, that movie
That-
doesn't
I-
exist. That makes me so sad. We also got Aisha Hines, and she's Colonel Diane Foster. I like her. Bradley Whitford, Sally Hawkins, Aziz Zhang, Thomas Middleditch.
I feel like Bradley Whitford was in something. Oh, he was in Cabin in the Woods. Funny enough.
Yeah.
I feel like he was in something else relevant.
Get Out?
Yeah, he was also in Get Out. I feel like there was something else relevant to this podcast, but I don't remember what it was.
Is he a voice actor?
He does some voice acting. I'm not sure. Anyways, so normally, Bailey, how we talk about movies is we will alternate between things that we liked, things that we didn't like. We'll alternate between those two, and then we always end with things that make us go, and that you can interpret that as you will. Just to give a quick plot summary for those who have not watched it, pretty much Godzilla's still out there. The humans are super paranoid about monsters coming back. They're starting to study more monsters. One that they have like kind of in captivity as an egg, and then it blossoms is Mothra, who is a giant larvae and then a giant moth. And then they, the eco-terrorists have set out to, they have observed that wherever these kaiju or the titans go, their radiation brings new life to the earth. It brings new plants and stuff like that.
And they eat the radiation.
And so they want to pretty much piss off all the monsters so that they roam the earth, and they want to save the physical earth
They're
itself.
trying to bring balance back to the ecosystem.
And so they end up releasing King. Well, they don't ever call him King, but Ghidorah, who's a three-headed dragon
From space.
from space. It's implied that he's from space. From original canon, he definitely is from space. He's a big alien, and he has an alpha signal. Godzilla has an alpha signal, and these kind of conflict, and these titans can use this to force other titans into submission. So now you have a conflict between Ghidorah and Godzilla for supremacy on the Earth, and the secondary human conflict is our two adult human characters, as well as they lost a son. It was Maddie's brother in
Andrew.
the Godzilla attack on San Francisco. What's that?
Andrew, that was his name.
And so that's kind of the character motivations, and Monarch is just doing whatever Monarch does, which is not consistent from movie to movie.
Well,
And
it's maybe a little more consistent in the movies and then the show.
simultaneously to this, Dr. Emma, who is Maddie's. So we have to take a quick break. Every episode, inevitably, our editor, Athena, has to interrupt us. I'll show you what she's doing, Bailey, if I can get.
I can see Athena poking in. Yeah.
She's
missed-
up on her perch, looking over us.
You missed it. She had just hopped up onto the top of the kitchen counters. Or not the kitchen. My cat does not get on the counters for all our listeners. The kitchen cabinets. Just throwing that out there.
I just saw you like snapping, and I couldn't tell if it was like Yas Queen kind of snapping.
No, I
you
was
were
like-
agreeing with something.
I was like,
No, it was just you were snapping at the cat.
I was like, don't knock things over. Not during recording.
And so, the additional to the human plot is Dr. Emma has created a machine that can create this alpha wave as well, and they can use it to also piss off Godzilla and or Ghidorah, whoever they need to attract the attention of at the time. And that's basically the gist of the movie. Bailey, I'll have you kick us off. What is one of your favorite things about this movie? Just really, it can be as specific as a performance or a scene or a moment, or it can be overarching over the whole movie.
Every single monster shot in this movie was approached to make essentially a painting, a piece of art. And this film, I think, accomplishes that phenomenally. This is one of the most gorgeous Godzilla movies, from color palette,
So good.
and color theory, and everything. Shot composition overall. Just anything with these monsters makes them into something terrifying and beautiful. You want to look at what's happening. You really do. Like, watching the trailer for this, like, if you remember the Comic-Con trailer that they released, gorgeous. And they played, like, the Claire de Lune trailer version. And, oh, God, I got to talk about this now. Because I looked up the trailer, and I was like, I need to look up that version of Claire de Lune. And so I found a Claire de Lune, like, piano thing on YouTube. And I went to the comments, and I realized how much that song resonates with people.
Sure.
And one comment was really fun, because it was like, oh, my grandfather just passed recently, and the one thing that he remembered in his last days was that his wife loved that he played Claire de Lune all the time, and that was the one thing he could remember to do, is play Claire de Lune. And whenever he was done, he would say, "That was for you, Gladys, who was my grandma." And I'm like, this is such a sweet story. And then I scroll down one more comment, and I see people just like, Godzilla brought me here.
Godzilla!
I feel like you could like the same thing about like tourists in Japan. Just like you have someone over here like connecting with their heritage or just the beautiful culture, and there's a Godzilla fan right next to them, just like stomping around.
Yeah, but anyway, this film, again, it is such a beautiful film on all fronts, and I think they truly succeeded on making a monster movie beautiful. Every, like, Ghidorah, like, spreading his wings kind of shot, especially on that volcano.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I was going to
It's
ask you
fucking-
if there was any particular frames in the movie that you were thinking about. I thought you might say that one.
Ghidorah, that Ghidorah shot, the one where he is lifting Godzilla into the sky and dropping him,
Yeah.
that one is like the most painting shot in the entire movie. It is literally like a fallen angel kind of painting is what it kind of looks like.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous. And then each monster has like a color palette.
Yep.
Like when Rodan emerges, it's like oranges and reds. When Godzilla's around, it's like this rich blue. When Mothra's around, it's very like light teal. And then Ghidorah has like those harsh yellows and even some green at some point. But yeah, it's just like, it's so distinct.
Now we have not talked about Rodan yet. Do you want to describe Rodan for us real quick?
Rodan is my favorite kaiju.
Oh,
Nice.
Rodan, the whole sequence. Rodan was one of the first kaiju films I watched outside of, just the Godzilla movies. Because he has his own movie that came out shortly after Godzilla. And that one, funnily enough, it ends with both of the Rodans falling into a volcano and dying. And this one, Rodan rises from a volcano. And then does his classic thing where he flies over a city and he's moving so fast and he's so big that the whole city is destroyed in his wake just by him flying over it, which I'm glad they interpreted into this, because not a lot of other Godzilla media actually does. They just kind of have him fly around and nothing happens.
Kind of man in a bird suit.
Exactly. And this one is basically giant pterodactyl, but they also made him more of a condor
Yeah,
vulture
he's
kind
definitely
of
very
thing.
raptor-like.
Yes, very raptor, very raptor. And just the whole sequence with Rodan awakening is one of my favorite monster sequences because it is literally just he pops up and then he chases the humans in an aerial chase scene.
It's such a good dogfight. Wow.
It's so good.
A little
and
unbalanced.
There's like all that tension building throughout the whole thing where he's destroying everyone. He's catching up to them. They're trying to get to Ghidorah so that the two of them can fight, which I think is really funny because it's just like it's the most anticlimactic fight possible because it's just they literally they just slam into each other and then he just drops Rodan into the ocean.
Well, one thing
But hey, the humans got away temporarily. But yeah, Rodan is awesome. Sides with King Ghidorah, which I honestly kind of liked. I like that a little bit, which he doesn't normally do.
He gives Starscream energy.
Very, very Starscream. Very.
One thing I wanted to add to that dogfight, because it's just so good. I think the tension of trying to escape Rodan, because he's also decimated all of their jets. Rip to the man that ejected straight into his mouth. That sucks.
in the trailer and everything. Still,
it just sucks.
So funny.
But I think my favorite part, so that build up, Rodan is coming. Rodan is really close to the ship. They've managed to get the one ship, I guess, that escaped that island of civilians. So out of like 30,000 people, like 30 lived. Yay. And so it's switching between the Rodan and the helicopter and the icons on the dashboard of Ghidorah, and suddenly it that camera shifts to this wall of storm and the lightning flashes, and Ghidorah is just revealed in that hurricane wall. And I don't know, I think it's kind of like a moment where this whole time you've been worrying about Rodan, and then you kind of get reminded of, oh yeah, and he's so big. Just Ghidorah is huge, and so that moment, it's almost like silence as they register. Like, oh, we gotta dive, and then the clash. It's just, I think it is funny because you mentioned all this tension, and they clash, and Ghidorah just like clamps on his wings with two heads, and fires straight into him and drops him.
Yeah, and when you say fire straight into him, how would you describe what Ghidorah's power is?
It's like electric lightning breath.
It's dope.
Essentially. So
it's a gravity beam. It's a gravity beam.
True.
Everybody.
Yes. But it doesn't do much gravity in this film, I don't think.
It never does.
It's just
like that.
It's just shocking.
And I've been trying to find the clip you were talking about, Bailey, of when Ghidorah drops Godzilla, but it did really dawn on me. I don't know
Rodan?
why. No, Rodan. I don't think Rodan could pick up Godzilla.
In the final fight. Well, I can find it for you, so I know this film.
God, it just really dawned on me. It should seem really obvious, but of the four major titans in this movie, 3 of them can fly, and Godzilla's the only one who can't. And it really makes him, if you view it from that perspective, he's very much like the big fat kid who's been just left out, who can't do much on his own.
Excuse me. Godzilla can fly.
First of all,
we established this in Godzilla versus Ghidorah. Godzilla versus the smog monster. He just turns around, he curls into a ball, and uses his atomic breath to lift himself up and through the air.
I sent you a
like a
Snapchat
rocket.
About that one time when I first watched
classic
it. Classic
Godzilla has some flying ability, but this kaiju-verse legendary Godzilla does not have that ability.
That we know of. We know of.
But the issue is,
I'm confident he's going to fly in this next movie.
he keeps getting bigger, though. He's so big. If he tries to fly, he might upset the Earth's gravitational pull or something.
Also, one thing I wanted to mention, because as we're bringing up,
oh, there it is.
When Ghidorah drops Godzilla, that should have leveled anyone and everyone within 40 miles.
I was gonna say, with Godzilla falling out of velocity and from a height where he
burns
literally
on atmosphere.
Burns in the atmosphere. Yeah, no one on Earth should be alive.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole plot of Age of Ultron, was that he was trying to drop something large from within the atmosphere. Like,
And here
Godzilla's just
comes
as
King
big.
Ghidorah just picking up another dude
From
and
the
chucking
top
him into
rope.
the planet.
Rachel, what's your first thing you like to list as a favorite thing?
I think, and you might have already mentioned this. I was trying to find something on Gojipedia, so I apologize. I think the scaling in this film is just perfect.
Godzilla's very scaly, yes.
Shut up. Anyways, no, just as you are watching the film, the kaiju are big. Like, there's so many shots from the perspective of humans that are just like, oh my gosh, especially when Ghidorah first, even in those actually scenes when Ghidorah is in the ice, there's a scene that pans up specifically from Millie Bobby Brown's height of just how big that ice wall is. And then when Ghidorah first arrives out of the ice, where it's like at the level of like the humans, like looking up this massive, like we see one head and we see tail and another head and a tail and a third head, and even when we see like that first scale of Ghidorah when Godzilla shows up, and it's kind of like, this is a really big kaiju. Because you know how big Godzilla is, but I think just all the scenes at ground level of the kaiju is just so good. Like, the whole film, you think like these kaiju are huge. And I won't dwell on the next movie too much because we have to do that next time. I think that's lost in the next film. Like, this sense of scale of the giantness of these kaiju. And it's just, it feels consistent. I think that scene where Dr. Russell, I almost said Millie Bobby Brown's mom at the end, when Ghidorah throws the truck, right before the big final battle, and Ghidorah is looming through the buildings at her when she's on the ground. Like, you're looking at that, and it's like, whew, that is such a big kaiju. I don't know. The scaling, I think, is just one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I think the scale, the capacity for scale is down. The quality of it's down from the previous one because that's like Gareth Edwards is the master of that. But it is, and so I think this movie gets caught in a weird place for a lot of people. Of it's not like quote unquote serious enough or like real quote unquote realistic enough like the 2014 one is, that people who like that don't like this one, but it's also like not as goofy or silly or ridiculous or out there as the original ones. So this one kind of gets caught in the in-between for a lot of people, but I think it really does have qualities of both. While it is not as good as the silliness of the original ones or what I would consider like the just like top-notch quality of the 2014 one or a Shin Godzilla or a -1, it doesn't hit any of those highs, but it still is a lot of fun, and I totally agree with you on both of what you guys have said. I think especially this is an interesting use of CGI, and what Bailey was talking about is how painterly or cinematic some of these images are. Now, I will go really micro. You guys have talked to some really big concepts. I'll go really micro. A single moment of this movie that created a cinematic love that Rachel and I have is the fast zoom. There's one particular fast zoom in this when Godzilla is down and out, and we'll probably talk about this scene because I'm sure this is one of Rachel's top 3 things in the movie, so I won't talk about that yet. But he comes out of the water, and he does his big beam in the air, and he looks down, and he like snaps his neck down, and then it just zooms in on his face with the music doing a big boom. And that fast zoom is just so both hilarious and epic and enjoyable.
Every time I watch it, I have to send a Snapchat of it to Cameron because it's just so good.
They do the same thing with Rodan too.
They do.
Whenever he bursts out, he sits there and it's from the city's perspective. Like the camera's in the city, it's in the crowd. He like goes.
Now is
that he sits there? He looks over, and as his head snaps, it then zooms in on his face, almost like he's just looking over, like, "The hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
Now was it this? There's a double fast zoom that we had not seen before or recognized. There was something we watched recently. I thought it was this. I had a double fast zoom. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in this movie.
The exact bit, almost. I think. Yep, it is. It's the double
Yes.
It
So
goes-
the scene you just thought about, it's a double fast zoom. It's a really wide shot, and then it zooms into a medium shot of Rodan, and then it cuts in even further. So that's almost a better example because it's a double fast zoom.
So many good
So
zooms.
anytime there's a fast zoom in a movie or a show, Rachel and I instantly just go fast zoom. So that's one of my favorite things about this movie, because it obviously fast zooms have been used in many movies, but this was the one that really solidified it as a beautiful tool for silliness, but also visual.
They use it in this film, and then they don't use it in any other
I
monster.
know.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
And
unfortunate.
it's just kind of like, come on, man. I kind of like the personality of these monsters that is given to them by the fast zoom. Like, Rodan really does look like just a bird snapping to look over, like, oh, hey, how are you guys? And Godzilla is really very, just like, you guys just blew me up.
And Rodan was like,
Look.
snacks.
Snacks.
So Bailey, what's something you don't like about this movie?
I want to say the humans, because I just do not
Which ones?
care. I'm on the side of the eco-terrorists in this film, because I don't care about the people.
No, I specifically mean Ken. Ken Watanabe. He is
No,
perfect to me.
Oh, there is a lot to not like. And frankly, I think like Charles Dance's character he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really all-
unfortunately.
That's right. That's the most you can say about really any of these characters is they're there, and it's just like I feel nothing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Rodan scene, I feel something because it's like, hey, okay, there's a collective here. There's a collective, like, if I were in this situation, I wouldn't want to be in this. This would be horrifying. But then just every other Millie Bobby Brown is running through Fenway from King Ghidorah's, like, gravity beams being blasted at her. And I'm like, there is no way you are outrunning lightning. I'm sorry. There's no way. I think these people are getting too close to these monsters and walking away without radiation poisoning of any form.
Yeah.
Everywhere they go, they're so irradiated that the planet literally is like new life is springing forth because there's so much radiation leaking off of them that it just kind of has to. But then all these people are just like chilling around them. They're like, oh, hey, we're not going to get scrubbed down after this or anything. We're not going to be like fiercely mutated or not going to have any like diseases. Our skin isn't like bubbling from the radiation of these things.
Well,
I don't know.
Dr. Rick Stanton does make a comment that he doesn't want to get too close to that source of radiation in the Hollow Earth because he doesn't want his kids to have webbed feet. That's the only comment we really get about it.
Now,
Oh, yeah. Sorry. This is totally off top. Hollow Earth? Complete bull right now. I'm sorry. Monarch kind of ruined the Hollow Earth for me.
how's that?
Monarch Legacy of
Well,
there's a time travel element to the Hollow Earth.
I see.
Explain Kong versus Godzilla, please.
oh my gosh.
They went into the Hollow Earth and came out the other side. Same
And-
year and everything.
And they went into the actual Hollow Earth. And in
Yeah.
Monarch of Legacy, they went into like this sub-level called Axis Mundi or whatever. And they got out.
Really?
Yes, there is a difference. It's not as deep as they went in God. Whoa. Okay, I'm not going to get
Well,
my
could
soapbox.
that explain
Sorry.
why it could the Axis Mundi? Could that have the time travel element, but
That's a
not
lot
if you
to expect
actually
from
go?
Legacy of Monsters.
I mean, I think I could give it the benefit of the doubt and say the Axis Mundi is weird because it's an in between space. But if you like in Godzilla versus Kong, when they actually go into the Hollow Earth itself, there isn't a time travel element.
But then
That'd be my guess.
But then, so my thought is, the fact that you're adding layers into the Hollow Earth is also kind of writing themselves into a hole because they essentially go into. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I'm not going to get on my soapbox for too long, but so as we've learned
I was
from
going to say, this will be something for like the next film
I
where they
know.
actually do
But-
the Hollow Earth.
But as we've seen from Legacy of Monsters, they have to follow a kaiju in, and I do think Godzilla vs. Kong kind of touches on that with Apex. But then we have if they were maybe they weren't actually in the Hollow Earth and it was just a flooded civilization, but they didn't follow a kaiju into the Hollow Earth portal when they were in the submarine. They just got sucked down a hole, like a current.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck is up with that even?
I know. So maybe it's not like, it's like pre-Hollow Earth. I don't know. It's like shallow Earth. I don't know. It's not actually as deep, but it was weird because they're like, this confirms the Hollow Earth theory. That confirms that that Godzilla travels through this. And it's like, okay, but when you start putting in time travel and portals into it, you're kind of starting to negate a lot of the things that make sense.
Here's more beef I have with. I'm going to go into the scaling thing because I like the scaling. Ooh. They're in a submarine, middle of the ocean. They come up. Godzilla comes up. And whenever he shoots his beam straight up into the sky, the water is up to his ankle.
He's standing.
He's standing.
Hey, look,
I'm like,
look. I have a meme that perfectly explains
this. We were
this.
watching this movie. We had this discussion, and it was like, well, didn't you watch Godzilla -1? He has a buoyancy thing. And I'm like, yeah, whenever he's like waist deep, that makes some sense. But this one is like literally standing there up to his ankles. And it's just not like he's not bobbing or anything. He's standing. I know he's wearing high heels or something. I don't know.
This meme perfectly explains. Exactly. He's got legs 8 times his length of his body.
Maybe his tail is just like propelling or whatever underneath him.
The tail is just sitting like ever so under the water.
He's got like Roadrunner legs. That just
no.
He's just perpetually moving. Oh gosh.
It was definitely one of those moments where it's like, such a cool shot, followed by, no, hold on.
Hold on, that's a submarine.
Wait a second. Also, my thought was, they did not have to travel very far to find that entrance. You know, when maybe there is a time skip somewhere, but it sure did not feel like they had to travel very far. I would almost expect that if there was a giant hole that Godzilla liked to go into that was like an hour from their base, they would have found it. Mothra was just like, these idiots. Walk them down the road.
Mothra literally was like, you guys, come over here.
Yeah, have you tried looking in this direction?
What's your next bad thing, Rachel?
My next bad thing?
Or first bad thing, I guess.
My first bad... well...
Godzilla Mothra shipping?
Oh, that's pretty bad.
Yikes.
Didn't Allison ask, are they married?
Probably.
And you said no, and I jokingly said yes.
I love perpetuating the bit, like, yes, they are boyfriend, girlfriend, because it is kind of, like, funny to think about, but then you sit there and you go, this age gap is super problematic, Godzilla. No, that is a child. That was just hatched a week ago.
But mentally, she's... No. So I think actually one of the things that annoyed me I don't know. It's weird to categorize it as bad. But I was actually kind of sad. I understand. And I'll get to the scene a little bit later because it's one of my favorites. So they nuke Godzilla to bring him back, you know, give him a little bit of juice. And I was actually so sad because that nuke destroyed that entire ruined civilization, and my thought was, there is so much information there that would have been so cool to learn.
I thought you were gonna say you were sad because they blew up his house.
That too. That like they worshipped Godzilla. And can you imagine going home? You're like, I've been worshipped here for centuries. You know, I like my little friends that used to live here, but unfortunately they died, so I'm gonna take a nap and hope things are okay. And they blow it up. Godzilla, we need you back in the game right now.
He's like, I just want to sleep.
He was like, why are you here? So I don't know. That was just kind of one thing I was bummed about, because I remember when I first watched it, you know, first time I'm like crying, but then I was like, wait, no, the things.
Oh yeah, apparently if you look up an image of the explosion, you can see Anguirus's bones.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
I've looked at it and I'm like, I don't think that's it. I really don't.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, my first bad thing, editing is such an important element of film. That seems pretty obvious, but I feel like a lot of people don't really know
you had
much
to drag
about
the
editing.
fast zoom.
No, what? I just spent like 5 minutes praising the fast zoom. This movie, I think there are a lot of action sequences that are just over edited. While I think, Bailey, what you talked about, there being single images or like brief moments in the movie that are really beautiful, the moment it tries to put individual images together, it just kind of hacks it to get pieces. And it's not horrible, but there are certainly scenes where I just completely lose what's happening because of the editing.
Transformers energy.
Exactly. Like, while both this and the previous movie have a lot of dust and smoke and darkness going on that kind of cover what's happening. That in the previous one, I feel like that was used to obviously, one, kind of help make the CGI look a little better, but it did create this like sense of mystery as to what was happening. But you were still aware of how things were happening, where people were in relationship to the action. I felt like the previous one did a great job of just like keeping us consistently in the space of a person. This one, just oftentimes the camera gets a little too free floaty. Things are happening that just don't make any physical sense. So that's the part where the movie kind of loses me. But we don't have to stay on the negative too bad. Bailey, what would you say is your favorite? If you didn't already say it, either your favorite thing, if you haven't said it already, or just a positive thing that you really love about this movie to conclude here.
I just think this is a perfect Godzilla movie, or a perfect encapsulation of the Godzilla that we know and love. Like, even from Toho, even into Legendary, it's just, you want to see monsters fight, you're going to get monsters fighting. You want to see like really cool looking monsters doing cool things, you're going to get that. You want to be bored by human characters that are just there, you're going to get that. I just think this film is potentially a good starter if you want to get someone like into Godzilla a little bit, or at least to have them understand what Godzilla's about. You just throw on this film and say, don't think about it, just sit here, fast forward through the talky bits, and enjoy. And I just think it's a perfect Godzilla movie. It's not my favorite, because that's Godzilla -1. Because that is art.
Sure,
Perfect.
absolutely.
This is just a good Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I didn't even think to ask you your opinion on Godzilla -1, but I think you just summarized it right there. Rachel, I can see from your notes that you've come prepared with 3 good and bad, which I really
4.
appreciate it, and I totally understand it. But we've gone pretty long, so can you just quickly summarize your other bad things for me real fast?
Oh, so not the good things?
Then I'll have you do your good things.
So, well, I'm actually going to summarize one good and bad, then we can go back to the good.
Okay,
so one
cool.
thing that, and this is like, I don't know how many people this made happy, but I was like one of the 7 people in the theater that might have understood this when I saw it. And you would understand, Bailey. So one thing that I really liked was, so we have our character, Dr. Chen. She's in this film, and she is a scientist at Monarch, and it's revealed that she is like 3rd generation.
Wait.
What?
Oh, a twin. I was going to say.
Yeah, she's like 3rd, and she's talking with Dr. Russell, father.
Yep.
And talking, she's like, yeah, like she's like 3rd or 4th generation Monarch, and she pulls up pictures of her family, and she's all twins. And I remember when I first saw that, being so excited in the theater, because the lore, in the original films, Mothra comes from this like ancient island where she has like 2, they're kind of like fairies. They're 2 very like Barbie-sized women who are twins, and they kind of like speak on behalf of Mothra and like pray to her, and they come from this island that worship Mothra. So we grew up, my brother and I, we grew up with some of those films on VHS, so that's a little old. But I was very excited for that callback. I don't know, I was just like, and then we had a funny comment of, let me see, what did we say? Look at all these characters who should have been the main characters in Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. But to tie that in, one thing I was actually really disappointed to is when before Dr. Serizawa leaves to go nuke Godzilla and give him a little pat, as we all would, he gives his journal to Dr. Russell, and I really think Dr. Chen should have gotten it. I did not like that. I don't know. I was just like, he hasn't been involved with Monarch for a long time. She's like third, fourth generation. I think she would have deserved it. And that was actually kind of like the rest of like my bad. My sad.
I think those are all really great in that they really represent. Rachel has really been building up how much she wanted to talk about. We were building up talking about these 4 movies in general, but Rachel really kept coming back to wanting to talk about this one. So I'm really glad you came with such specific notes. I love it.
My movie.
What is your big good thing? Like what is like if you haven't already said it, like
so
what do you love about this movie?
I got 2.
Okay.
One is general and one's very specific. So I really liked the range of kaiju in this film.
Yeah.
That was so cool because, I mean, 2014 is fun, but, you know, it's very focused on Godzilla and the Mutos. And one thing we have a whole cast. So we have Godzilla, of course, the G-Man, we have Ghidorah, we have Mothra, and we have Rodan, who are these, you know, kind of like big names. You're like, yeah, the kaiju. And then at the end, as the other kaiju awaken, we get a whole cast of new ones. We see a Queen Muto. We see Behemoth, which is that like mammoth sloth thing.
My favorite.
Yes. We have Methuselah, which every time we watch this movie, we make a joke about Detective Pikachu that came out the same year because as a very it comes up from under the mountain like the Torteras. It's really weirdly
same month,
yeah. And then we have Scylla, who is that crabby thing, which is like kind of named after the Greek myth. So I just think it's fun. There's a whole range of kaiju that we get to see new. Granted, we only get to see them for like 10 seconds at the end because they're like CGI budget does not allow for any close-ups. But so that's fun. But I think like my favorite part of this film is I love Dr. Serizawa. And I really like the scene where he goes to revive Godzilla I just think it's really powerful. His father was at Hiroshima. He has the watch the whole time, so he knows like he has this history. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, babe, I believe his father encountered Godzilla as well. I could be wrong. I'm thinking I could also be thinking of a different iteration of Serizawa. Ooh, there's too many. But I mean, the music is beautiful. It's the Goodbye Old Friend track from the CD, which in 2020 I had half of the soundtrack on my rewind. So I don't know. The music is beautiful, and I think he kind of does what we all want to do and go up to Godzilla and give him a little pat. And then
die.
And then
that's all you need to do.
And then he dies. He sacrifices himself
to give Godzilla a nuclear snack.
Godzilla comes back and he has just like a little person shaped like star on his nose. He's like,
that would be an incredible piece of continuity if every movie thereafter he still had it, though it was continually smaller because Godzilla's growing.
No.
And Dr. Serizawa's legacy survives to a little
always
spot.
part of him.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm a movie crier. It's very easy for me to cry in movies. So every time I'm like crying at this scene. And then they kind of threw it away in the next film, but we're not going to talk about the next film until 2 weeks. So yeah, that was kind of.
You got to talk about Doug. You have to talk about Doug.
We will talk about Doug, but that's the next film.
Good.
We'll talk about Doug.
Love all of that. I highly agree with pretty much everything you just said, Rachel. Because that is, I would say. Well, I mean, I don't really care about who got the Notebook, but
I do. I care.
But that is Serizawa sacrificing himself is certainly the peak of the movie, especially considering he's like really the only carryover character other than Sally Hawkins' character who was just like his assistant sort of character from the first one.
Oh, and she
just unceremoniously gets wiped out by Ghidorah in the
Dr.
first
Graham.
action scene. I mean, it's not like she like had that much of an impression, anyways. But the fact that they would bring her back just to kill her like that,
we
is
do
hilarious.
see him like crushed though afterwards.
Oh, does he? I kind of missed that.
Emotionally, like
Yeah,
he's really
no,
sad.
he was physically crushed is later. That was her actually. She was crushed and he was physically crushed. But while that's definitely the emotional climax of the movie, when I think of this film, I think of Godzilla going thermonuclear at the end. Just when
it's so good.
when he
So
now
good.
you guys are gonna have to remind me exactly how this occurs
I
'cause
can
I
do
don't
that.
exactly remember.
So, well, sorry, Bailey. I don't know if you were gonna do. I didn't know if to cut you off, but
it's just the Mothra power up. It's what Mothra
Yeah.
does best.
and
She just dies and then gives all of her power to Godzilla.
to quote Dr. Rick Stanton when they first showed up, Sarazawa's got that lizard juiced. So he was
Got that lizard juiced.
Godzilla was already on like essentially a nuclear meltdown.
Steroids.
Yeah, he's on steroids. He's on a nuclear meltdown. So in the first part, they're like, we can only be here for like 10 minutes. It's gonna be bad. And so then he kind of gets his butt kicked, and then Mothra sacrifices herself. So on top of that magic sacrifice from Mothra and him going thermonuclear, he is destroying that entire city by existing. And he is melting. I felt bad for Millie Bobby Brown's mom because it wasn't confirmed if like Ghidorah killed her or not because he got distracted. She would definitely be dead. Like just incinerated.
She had the most painful off-screen
Like,
death
incinerated.
imaginable of just being incinerated and melting alive.
Yeah. So awful way to go for her. But one thing I pointed out that's really cool about, not to like take it from you.
No, you're good.
Because when Godzilla pulses, you see Mothra's wings and you hear her noise. Her
For crying.
Yeah, just that moment of Godzilla pretty much letting off a nuclear bomb from his body. That's sick. I mean, like this is why we created computers, right? So that we could create images like this that live in our brains and our hearts.
Godzilla exists.
And then the ending, just the final bit where it's like, oh, Ghidorah's still alive from that.
Yes.
No, it's
Oh.
Godzilla having a snack.
I want to know
He's
how he.
finishing up his meal.
I want to know how he got Ghidorah's neck in his mouth like that, though. I always wondered about that because it's not even like from the side; it is just straight neck.
Yeah, when I hear people online or in podcasts criticize this movie pretty heavily, I just think of that scene and I'm just like, how can you not love this movie? This is just so freaking good. Like this is why we're here. So that's my big positive wrap up. Is that I do have my problems with the movie. It's slow at parts. It's not so well edited in other parts. It kind of loses me in its CGI-ness at other times. But then it really brings it all together here at the end. And that brings us to our final section of our film reviews, which is my favorite section, which is the things that make you go, And Bailey, that is open to interpretation. There are lots of things that might make one go, during a movie. Does anything come to your mind when you think about this movie?
Mothra's design.
Okay.
I'm so used to fluffy, beautiful Queen of the Monsters. And what we get is roach creature with wings.
And they gave her a knife.
And they did give her a knife, which
got
I
a
actually
shiv.
cool with. That was I love that. But I look at her and I go, that's not a Queen of the Monsters. Like whenever she's doing like the illumination thing, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then whenever you see her like up close, it's literally that SpongeBob wormy thing. So it's like,
No, the fly.
Like
Yeah.
Oh,
and you're just
Bailey,
like, oh my god,
we have
get it away from me.
we almost somehow always manage to make SpongeBob references on this podcast. That makes me very happy that you just said that. That is so accurate. Oh my gosh.
There is
It is.
There is a funny scene because after Mothra stabs Rodan and he falls to the ground, it pans out to Ghidorah and Godzilla, and you see Rodan like flailing dramatically on the ground. He's like, ah! So dramatic.
Rodan is canonically a big old crybaby.
He is.
Tantrums.
So, Mothra getting redesigned to be a gross
Actual moth.
anatomically correct moth creature.
Biblically correct.
Is what else? Anything else that's
Really accurate angel.
The eye count is up there.
With a knife.
Be not afraid.
Be not afraid.
anything else that makes you go, Bailey?
I think Vera Farmiga needs to stick to being a demonologist con artist from the Conjuring series,
yes,
and less of an eco-terrorist.
I agree.
But no, I think the other part that makes me go, is they have the 3 soldiers.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they were more involved and or the main characters. Because they're there, and then... I mean, this might be a problem with a lot of the characters at the very end, is they just kind of are flying away, and they just leave it at that. They're just like, hey, we got away from the monsters. Did any of us resolve any of our personal conflicts? Maybe. I don't know.
There's no way that they all got away unscathed without some form of cancer from after witnessing that.
No. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yet, Bobby Brown and her dad are in the next one. Totally fine.
Unfortunately.
They're just walking around like, oh, school's being a little good.
Yeah, there is a lot of characters in this movie, and I think the character name is First Lieutenant Griffith. It's the soldier
who gets the leg injury.
Yeah, she gets injured like we should care.
That should have been a femur injury. I'm not gonna lie.
She has a pretty distinct look, this character, and there's a lot of shots of her, but I don't know if she has any actual meaningful dialogue. It feels like she may have had more of a character that was cut out because they were probably editing this movie like, we cannot have 10 concurrent character arcs. It's
not a monstrous if they edit out the fun stuff.
Yeah. So
Right.
when you say they should have been the main character, I suspect that just based off of how prominently that actress is featured with nothing to do, I think there may have been more to this movie, especially with how much we know they edited down Kong versus Godzilla. There's precedent for that as well. Not that
I'm worried about the next movie too.
We'll
Kong
see,
X
man.
Godzilla. It
That's
was
their
2.5
ship
hours long, and now it's like an hour 54.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, yeah, weird.
Worst case scenario is that our cast from Monarch Legacy of Monsters shows back up in the film. Ah!
I postulated or theorized when we were watching the show that, and I'm hoping that given that they're not going to renew Monarch season 2, we just see the skeletons of all of the main characters from Monarch in Godzilla X Kong, just so we get some sort of closure on their characters, like their skeletons
Kong just
in this.
crushed all of them.
Rachel, what are your moments?
Well, so you mentioned Vera Farmiga, and one thing that I always just I don't know if it makes me laugh or it just makes me go, what is going on? When she is having her monologue to all of that Monarch ship, and she's talking about how she's an eco-terrorist now, and Godzilla is going to make everything, and Ghidorah's going to make everything right. She has video clips ready during her monologue, and she's playing them because you have footage from the current kaiju's waking up, and she has the aerial footage of the Mutos from the last film. And so it's
This
just like,
is my TED Talk.
no, for real. She had it ready, which is just so, it'd be one thing if she was monologuing and it was like switching to actual views of the world at the time, but
She's
no.
been working on that since before they attacked her at the Mothra facility. Like she's had it ready to go. She's been rehearsing it. Millie Bobby Brown keeps going up to her like, "Hey, Mom, you're being weird again. It's for that play, right? Yeah,
Yes.
sweetie."
So that was one thing. The other thing that I just kind of struggle to wrap my head around is where like the Monarch leadership is in because Monarch Legacy of Monsters just like feels like a totally separate monarch. Because Serizawa is so involved, but then after 2014, you still have this executive director Verduga, who we're probably never going to see again. Just these characters we are never going to see again. And it just doesn't, it feels so separate because now that monarch was like kind of under military control, that was just like ignored in Legacy of Monsters. And so then to see at this point in 2019 where they're like on trial, it's just one of those things where, and it's not maybe a with the movie, it's just like a with the canon and what they're trying to do. I think the last thing, and this was something your wife asked, so at the end of King of the Monsters, we see a Queen Muto, and Allison made a comment on, doesn't Godzilla hate those things? You know, why isn't he killing her? And so, valid. But part of it is it's implied that she's old and she can't breed anymore. Like it's implied she's pretty much the last of her kind. So I think Godzilla's like, I'll let you live for now. Don't do anything. But the other thing is, there's that. And then we talked a little bit about, I don't know if we were going to talk about the comic, but Godzilla Aftershock, which happens in 2014, that Legacy of Monsters just ignores, which has the Prime Muto in it versus Godzilla.
It destroys his spines, right?
Yes, it destroys his dorsal spines, which is why they're different in this film compared to last. Because normally he's just bigger. His dorsal spines are actually different. They'd been shattered in this comic, but it's also kind of odd that Monarch Legacy of Monsters is like, look, we haven't heard from the Titans in a hot while. Guess y'all just missed that Muto Prime. That doesn't exist anymore. But in Godzilla Aftershock, you didn't read it. That's okay. This is it came out in 2019 as well, I believe. And we do actually have interactions with Dr. Russell, Emma Russell, and Charles Dance's villain character before the movie. This is where they first meet. So anyways, it's a fun comic. Read it. Make sure you have definitely some kind of virus protection. I mean, I totally read it legally online. But I don't know, just a lot of things like watching this, especially in a post Legacy of Monsters mindset, trying to figure out what are they doing.
Yeah. Hey, it's more consistent and has a better vision for the future than DC did.
It's so bizarre that this is like the second most successful shared universe after Marvel. It's really odd. I actually, coming into tonight, I had nothing written down for good, one for bad, and 5 So here are my there's a statue jump scare when they're going through the city, and it's like that itself is it would be bad but not notable, but like it is so slow and clunky, and then the statue is on screen for like a second or two, and it cuts to one of the scientists, and she reacts, and it's like this. It's like the slowest possible jump scare, and it's like this movie's already way too long. I think we do not need to spend time on this. One character drops the F-bomb, and then just a few moments later, they censor someone saying by like having them die, and it's like that is a strange contrast right there. And Godzilla misses his first shot, which is like obviously an intentional choice, but like the fact that he like our like hero shows up, has his iconic atomic blast, and then he just totally whiffs on it and at Ghidorah. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I think it's funnier because Ghidorah dodges and looks at it, and then they look back at him. They just, anyways.
And then I got 2 more here. I lost my notes. Here we go. Okay. They in the one of the first scenes of the movie, Monarch is like defending their existence to the government, and then they kind of storm out of the room, because a monster showed up or something, and
Because the base was attacked.
Oh, yes. And so one of their guys like, we need to step out and consult. Please enjoy this informational, entertaining documentary on Muto mating. And it's just a shot from the first movie from when the male and female Muto first meet. They like nuzzle each other. But the moment they nuzzle each other, it like pixelates out their face. And that is...
Because he says, I think this is the one where the genitals are blurred out.
Oh, he does say that.
And it's their faces.
So that's a moment. And finally, in that same scene, a few moments earlier, they're talking about trying to coexist with Godzilla. And one of the military guys like, are you suggesting we make Godzilla our pet? And here Karazawa goes, no, we would be his. Serizawa, you beautiful idiot. That's not how you convince the government to do something. That is just, it's a cool line,
That is
but
the worst way to get someone to like take your side on something. It's like, we'll submit to them.
that makes him seem just as bad as the eco-terrorist. Like he wants to, like he's got this weird
Look, he
subversive
just really,
thing going
he just
on.
really loves Godzilla.
Hey, don't kink shame Serizawa.
Is Serizawa a
That
furry?
man got on the world stage and told everyone what he's into.
He's doing something on Maine. I'll give him that. So that concludes week 3 of wrong thing. Mad. Dang it! I have totally screwed this up.
Madness.
March Madness. So thank you for participating in the first official week, because it's actually March now. March Madness. Bailey, thank you so much for coming on the pod. It was a blast to have you.
Yay, baby.
Yeah, hopefully the audio worked out. And we actually got this
It's just
recorded.
an hour and a half of us talking to ourselves.
Otherwise, yeah, I was gonna say this will be awkward. We'll get off of this, and you'll tell me, hey, we need to record again. Now that we've got a first rehearsal in, we can tighten it up or something.
Just the recording. Bailey, what did you think? Silence. It's like our listeners are gonna think we were losing it. Like, who are they talking to?
So Bailey,
Why are they laughing all of a sudden?
we'll definitely have to have you tell us once you've seen Godzilla X Kong. We'll have to have you send in your review, and we can.
That's their ship name.
Yeah.
Godzilla X
Yeah.
Kong. Actually, I just called him Gong.
So as you said before, you're on TikTok and Instagram as movie_daddy. Anything else you want to
movie
plug?
_daddy on TikTok, _movie_daddy on Instagram, because someone else called themselves movie_daddy first,
Oh,
but their
no.
account is inactive. They have not posted, they've not done, so I'm just waiting for their account to get deactivated by default, and then I'm swooping in.
Swooping in.
Yeah.
Well, Bailey, give you a round of applause. Thank you for being our first remote host, or guest, third guest overall. And we'll talk to you later, Bailey. Have a great night.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for hearing me out.
Now we move on to Meme Minute, but it's longer than a minute. But is it longer than a meme parsec or a meme astrosecond? You decide. Or is it longer than an episode where we have a guest on? This might be our longest episode, simply because
We talk a lot.
yes, well, this is a
Look,
podcast.
you gotta talk about Mr. King of the Monsters, Mr. Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
That's true. Do you have any video memes this week?
I do actually have one video,
So
and
do
I
I.
and
Hit
I
me
don't
with that
remember
video meme.
what it is.
I can never remember either.
It's always so. I should turn the volume down.
Now
a
I
little bit.
remember. Yes. Oh, this is real good.
I hate when it does this. I don't remember what this is, but it starts off with a clip from Aladdin, like the genie with. I almost said Kurt Russell.
Everyone's favorite genie from Aladdin, Kurt Russell. Everyone
Robin
knows.
Williams.
Once again, this whole broadcast has been brought to you by sand. It's everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Get used to it.
I almost. At the last second, it shows Anakin screaming.
Superimposed. Ah!
This meme, I've said it again, I'll keep saying it. One of my favorite things about this podcast is finding unexpected intersections between our interests. Oh, this is not an official interest of the podcast, but it did come up briefly, and therefore it is officially canon as one of our shared interests. And then
Did you say it's canon?
it's canon.
Oh my gosh. I saw this one.
So it's got toys of Godzilla and Kong from the new movie with the little guy. What's his name?
Zuko.
Zuko singing and playing a
Men at Work.
saxophone. This
Men
is a
at-
Men at Work song.
Yeah, who can
They're
it be
literally
now?
playing the saxophone though. It's a very cute video, and I did not expect a crossover between Godzilla X Kong X Men at
We
Work.
had a nickel for every like Men at Work crossover we had. We'd have like 2 nickels, which isn't a lot.
There's a very fun charm to toy-based videos like this, where it's not even stop motion; they're just like moving it with their hand off screen.
cute.
This video has so much joy in it, and I loved it. So, and now this is posted by a page called Godzilla: The New Empire, but it's not an official page. Anyways, what meme? How many memes you got this week, Rachel?
Oh, I don't count.
Well, go ahead and
Hold on. I said I don't count, but I will. I have 9.
Oh, I have 8. Perfect. So you go first.
Perfect. This is a comparison meme of like happy sunset crying Wojak and withered Wojak. Godzilla's theme starts playing. Happy Wojak is Monsterverse, an older Godzilla, and then like the Zilla animated, but then the withered Wojak is -1 Shin, and then I think that's from that Godzilla Earth anime. So the difference of when you hear the theme versus the vibe of the film. Look, I'm just saying, -1's track Deity is so good.
It is. It's
That's
real good.
That's
yeah.
that's the track where he blows up Ginza.
We didn't talk about this with Bailey, but as far as I remember, Godzilla 2014 does not use the original theme. Is that correct? Like, really? But Godzilla King of Monsters does.
I don't think
use
there's
it.
like that iconic
Yeah.
bomb, 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 bomb,
Yeah.
bomb, bomb.
But this one did, and that was very
Multiple
fun.
times.
Yeah. So this meme, very relevant to a piece of news last week. They announced the re-release remaster of Battlefront 1 and 2, and it's from How to Train Your Dragon. You're as beautiful as the day I lost you. Very cute.
That's a good one. When you've said that's crazy 6 times, but bro's still yapping.
Just
It's a blank stare image of Godzilla -1.
that's a good blank stare. I like that. It's got an anime girl crying, "Why won't you ever give up?" And the Chad meme is because he never did.
Why do I
and
feel like
it's-
you made that one? You've been on a kick with those types of memes lately.
What is his name? I cannot remember his name. It's John C. Reilly's character from Kong Skull Island. So why don't you ever give up? Because he never did, and it's just an image of
Because
John C. Reilly, the man who was left on the island in Kong.
Hank Marlowe.
Hank Marlowe. He never gave up, Rachel.
King behavior.
He never did.
And his wife didn't either. What a woman.
That's true.
She, like, honestly,
Unsung hero.
she kind of like left a woman fine. You know.
What else you got?
Donate to the Clones Fund. Why? What have the clones ever done for me? It's it's the Children's Fund meme from SpongeBob with Mr. Krabs. We got crosshair on Mr. Krabs' face and Omega on the phone.
That's wild. Yeah, so you've got Crosshair's face over Mr. Krabs' face. Very typical meme. But the fact that they've put whoever made this, you or whoever, put Omega's face on the receiver on the cell phone, that is really funny. Great. Top meme. I've not so this is like a very simple CGI rendering of a very muscular man staring off into the distance, and next to him it says right ear, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Chinese. Left ear, Mozart, 2 times speed.
Hey, that would resonate with our friend Caleb, who watches everything, who listens to our podcast on 2 times speed. Old men don't even try to hide that they're looking at you, that they're staring at you, be looking at you just like this, and it's zoomed in on Godzilla's with his flaming eyes.
Yikes.
Yeah, ooh, yikes.
So a lot of you are probably aware of this, but
I'm not.
Well, then I'll explain it to you. Qui-Gon Jinn's communicator in The Phantom Menace is actually just a women's Gillette razor.
Yeah.
And so someone, because of this, very humorously has taken an image of a man shaving his legs, but put Qui-Gon's face over it, and he's got the communicator in his hand. I love it. I also love how just low resolution his face is.
Extra pixelated.
What else you got?
Humans, we gotta kill Godzilla. World-threatening monster emerges. Godzilla, you could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. And it's Godzilla photoshopped over Thanos.
Thanozilla? This is an old meme format. You don't see a lot anymore, but I'm
Vintage.
always
It's an old code. It's an old.
yeah.
It's an old code server. It still checks out.
I'm always a big fan. Why not visit Lothal? We have the Space Needle, Abbott and Costello.
No,
That one T-shirt, and it's the foxes or the wolves.
The wolves.
Murph Moriarty, a teen trying his best. Barbecue.
No.
What was her name again?
She was she wasn't a governor. She was kind of like put in charge by the Empire, and then
It was like the local
Governor
governor,
or
and she
whatever.
got exploded, right? By the Empire, is that right?
It's bad.
What else you got?
Flaming hot Cheeto shaped Shin Godzilla for sale, $29,500, and it's exactly how it sounds.
It does look like Shin Godzilla. Not gonna lie.
It's in a little plastic bag, and it's Cheeto.
So obligatory, not a meme. It's just the Bad Bat sushi. It's just all of their faces as sushi.
I think that's actually not bento. It's onigiri,
Oh, okay.
like the little rice snackies.
Well, there you go. What else you got?
Bad Batch season 3, episode 3, out of context.
So Bad Batch season 3. So that episode.
It's where they're escaping Tantus.
Oh, so it's okay. So it's an image of the characters from Up, and it's an old grumpy man, a sweet little kid, and a dog. So,
Dog.
Yeah, very good.
Dog.
Gonk with the Windu.
Oh my god.
Mace Windu and a Gonk droid on the poster for Gone with the Wind. And the like caption here is the most wizard picture ever.
No.
And pretty much all other than Mace Windu, all of the credits at the end are just the word Gonk over
Gonk.
and over. What else you got, Rachel?
How roaches be looking at you when you literally stomp them to death 5 times.
How many memes? That's the third meme you have that's just an image of a kaiju staring straight into the camera. This one is Godzilla in the mist.
No, that's Kong.
I mean Kong. Gosh
Psychopath.
dang it. This is my final meme, and it references a piece of news that you had earlier. So we talked about last week how there's an edit from when Omega first is being held captive to after having been there for over 100 days. Well, this is a popular meme format, but it's specifically from Rachel's just watching Athena.
Your camera back.
Oh, she's trying to do it again. We're back. We're back around to one of our favorite segments. Athena tries to get into my bag. She's done it. She had to go really far to do it too, because it is up on a chair and it's closed. She had to shove her little face in there, and what a monster. Hey, do not. She's scratching. Should I get her out?
I'm her mom.
Rachel just ripped off the lid. Nope, now she's like, I'm not doing anything. This is where I'm supposed to be. She just went straight back to scratching in the bag.
A podcast from here.
So to finish my meme here, it's the scene from Saving Private Ryan when it slowly fades from young Private Ryan's face into the old man version, but each individual frame is Omega Day 1, Omega Day 21,
no.
Omega Day 150, Omega Day 164.
Kurt Russell energy after being in the Hollow.
Yeah.
Will you push the button? 99% chance of getting $1 million. 1% chance of becoming plushy Mechagodzilla.
Wow, that is something. That is a derpy boy. That is for sure.
Athena, what meme do you think Cameron made? I have her on my lap right now.
Say hello to the listeners, Athena.
She's upset with me because
Oh, she's not talkative.
Oh, her tail is thumping.
So, there she is. Thank you for saying hi. Thanks for coming on the pod. Thank you for coming in remotely.
She's physically here, Cameron.
So this is the end of Meme Minute, but it's longer than a minute. Now we guess which meme the other one made.
Hey, our podcast is gonna be 50 episodes old.
Next time we record, which will be next week.
We can go buy a boat. Like
next
every
week
other
we will be
50-year-old.
talking about Kung Fu Panda 4: The New Kingdom. And we will also be talking about the next episode of Bad Batch, of course. Hopefully something happens on that episode. Because nothing has happened in the last two. Other than the crew reuniting. And guy who originally played young Boba Fett reappearing as young clone.
Oh, yeah.
Athena's actually drinking sitting water.
Oh my gosh,
What
she must
character
be
growth?
desperate.
All right, we've got 9 memes here. We've got the Godzilla theme playing, depending on the movie. We've got when you've said that's crazy 6 times, but bro's still yapping.
Bro's still yapping.
Donate to the Clones Fund. That one's so good. Old men don't even be trying to hide what they're staring at you. Humans, we got to kill Godzilla. You cannot live with your failure. Flamin' Hot Cheeto. It's good. Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 3 out of context. That one's really funny. How roaches be looking at you when you literally stomp on them 5 times.
Did you make this one?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did make the one with
Why don't you
John
ever
C.
give
Reilly.
up with Hank Marlowe? King behavior, Cameron.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to bring it up on my phone. I'm looking at my laptop right now. I'm so bad at this game. I'm going to guess when you've said that's crazy 6 times.
No.
Dang it. I'm so bad at this game. My second guess would be this.
No.
This.
No.
Dang, I am really bad. This one?
No.
This one?
No.
Whoa, I'm bad. Did you make this one?
I did make the clone.
You made. That is one of my favorite memes we've ever had in this podcast.
I was so
really
worried
good.
because I opened up my phone and I had the blank template
Oh.
on my notes, and I was
I
like,
didn't notice.
"Oh, we didn't see that."
So Rachel made the one I really liked of
Donate to the Clones Fund.
tech.
Crosshair.
Dang it, Crosshair on the phone with Omega. Really funny. Really, really good.
Clones Fund. What have the clones ever done for me?
Love that. And I gotta bring up our score here.
I gotta make sure it's right on
Okay.
Twitter. Look, it's not a post on me from Twitter if I don't get the score
Oh.
wrong every single time.
Now, I don't think I've ever fallen into negative, but I might be at 50-50 here this week. Yeah, I'll be at 12-12 now.
That's how good
And
Crosshair
you're
shoots.
at 15-8. Very nicely done.
So, okay, yep. All
Oof,
right, I
this
did have it
is
right.
not looking good for me. That is...
Oof.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I've been like hovering around. Like I was at, let's see, at week 14, I was at 7-7.
You got me like 4 weeks in a row one time. I was kind of mad.
I was at week 14, I was 7-7, and then week 19, I was 10-10, and now here at week 23 of this game, I'm at 12-12 again. You're at 15-8. Very nicely done, Rachel. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a lot of fun to have Bailey on the pod, and hope to bring have him again.
Addressing by his title, Movie Daddy.
Yes, his Mr. Bailey was my father. You can call me Movie Daddy. As always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our excellent new intro and also original outro music. Props to Rachel for our artwork and Twitter account at Rebels Robots Pod.
Props to Cameron for our Facebook.
And of course, thank you to Athena for editing. Even though we know that she hates it, she still does it every week. Give us something to read on the pod. Leave a review, tweet, or DM us memes or opinions. If you go see Godzilla Godzilla X Kung Fu Panda 4 this week. Let us
Godzilla
know.
X Kung Fu Panda 4.
Let us know what you think. Or
I
if
don't
you're
know
watching
about
Bad
that.
Batch, let us know how you're feeling about it.
This is Rachel and Cameron signing off saying, so what? Do we just make Athena our pet? No. We become hers.
Oh no! That sounds so much worse. Good night, everyone.
See, now that I've said it, I have to remember it, and I gotta psych myself up for it. So what? Do we just make Athena
No, you
our...
have to start with this is Cameron and Rachel signing off.
Ah!